Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever Archon Team League Championships. My name is Amaz, apparently, and I'm joined right now by
Whoa.
Crip. How's it going, Crip?
Hey, Amaz, how's it going? I like your hair.
Thanks, man. Is it a big surprise? It's not too different, right? I think it looks kind of the same.
Now, if
shade.
if you were going to change it up, that's exactly how I expected you to do it. So good job.
Yeah. Well, I saw that you were wearing your maroon purple shirt, and I wanted to match it so we can be
Kind
color
of.
coded today.
Yeah, kind of. It's
Gonna
actually
be a fun
exactly the
day.
same. It's just a lighting issue. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, it's going to be a really fun day, guys. We have different formats. We have different casters with different color of hair. And today we promise to start off with one of the most exciting things that we have in recent Hearthstone memory. We have a $250,000 team league going on here with the best players in the world, and it's going to be a really fun time. It's going to be a long time. It's going to be a long league. We have 8 weeks to play, and today we're going to kick it off with Archon versus Nihilum. So, Crip, let's break down how this league is actually going to happen here.
All right. So basically, it's a lot of money, and they're going to have to play a lot of games, and it is a team battle. So it's best of 11, and there's 3 players on each team, and each player on the team brings 2 decks for a total of 6 decks per team. All decks must be unique class across all teammates. So, if teammate 1 brings Warrior, then you're out of luck. You can't bring your Warrior. That's kind of the idea. Each match is a blind pick. Locked decks cannot be picked again in that series, and when a deck wins, it's locked, and the win is awarded. And obviously, the first team to 6 takes it. Best of 11. That's what it is. So pretty interesting stuff. There's a lot of dynamic. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that a lot of people who are watching probably won't realize. That has to do with like someone's gonna have to play like Priest. So it's not about winning a game with Patron Warrior. It's about winning a game with like some slightly new version of Priest, because that's not really getting played. So that's really going to be an interesting part, because it is a team effort, and the players are going to have to decide amongst each other which one wants to play the less standard classes and be responsible for actually winning with them. So it is certainly a team battle, and communication, experience, and ability to play as one is really important. So it's nice to have it kicked off with Nihilum versus Archon, 2 very fairly prolific Hearthstone teams, no?
Yeah, I think they've been the best performing Hearthstone teams, objectively speaking, over the past couple of months. Nihilum has Life Coach and Tice, who's been doing really well. RDU is always a threat to tournaments, and Lothar, even as a team captain, and the caster is also placing top 4 in events. And of course, Archon, they also dominate tournaments. WCA was all Archon. Firebat still winning back-to-back Gfinities. They are also a high-performance team, too. So I think it's really appropriate that we start off with them. But also, we want to talk about how the other teams, we have a really good mix of players as well. We have Team Templestorm and Cloud9, 2 other top teams. And we also have a mix of some all-stars. We have Team Value Town with guys like Trump there heading the captainship. And we also have Team Forsen Boys. Do you have any reading on these teams here, Crip? How do you think they'll prepare, even though that they don't exactly have like the cohesiveness of one team brand?
Well, they're top teams, too. It's fine. It's all right. No, but in all seriousness, I think it'll hurt them a little bit, because when you come to the table as individuals, you kind of have to, be a bit humble in the approach, and I feel that's something that's easy to screw up. I'm not expecting them to screw it up, but they might. They might be like, no, I want to play this. I want to play this. This is what I'm good at. And this like type of mindset might really conflict when it comes to winning as a team, because even though let's say Foursome Boys decides to play Grim Patron Warrior and like Tempo Mage or whatever, and the other players want to play that, he might get 2 wins, feel good about it, but at the end of the day, he might go home broke. So. That's not the idea. And the ability to work together with people that you're familiar with is certainly an advantage in my mind. And I've played a lot of games where teamwork is very important. And Hearthstone is one that, it's only delved into a little bit. And hopefully this tournament pushes that idea maybe to a higher level.
Yeah, that's right. And it's going to take over 8 weeks, guys. We're going to be going all the way till September. I think the beginning of September is the last week of play. And we're going to have a lot of chances for the teams to continue to redeem themselves. I believe 1 team will be eliminated, but ultimately the 7 teams that are remaining will be fighting for playoff spots. And we also will have the eventual offline finals. It's going to be a fun time. And we're going to kick it off again with Nihilum versus Archon, which is about to begin. But before we do, we have a couple of segments we want to show you, player intros. So let's check out the first one here.
I am RDU. I'm playing for Team Nihilum. I think I'm known for both tournaments and some favorite decks. People associate me with like Freeze Mage and Rogue. The format of the Team Link is something really interesting, and because every one of my teammates have a really varied play style, I think we can cover most of the classes correctly and do well. We'll see, it will be something really interesting. The strongest deck at the moment is probably gonna be Patron. I am not really sure because the meta changes. Like whenever a deck is considered the strongest, then the counters appear, and then the counters are considered to be the strongest, and it's like just a vicious cycle that just repeats itself. So whoever predicts it can find out what's the best deck overall. Hi, I wanna say hi mom to every mother watching the Team League.
All right. Well, already looking a little ghostly there, but I'm pretty confident in Team Nihilum. If I had to pick one team to represent in terms of pure Hearthstone results and like in terms of their performances, I think they've been the #1 team. But it's always pretty close with Team
pretty
Archon.
close, yeah. It's pretty close with others too. I mean, these teams have done well on an individual basis because that's what they're ranked on the past. But we will get to see how well they work together to take this one down. And for me, while we have huge names here, we just saw RDU collect a bunch of giant-sized checks, which you always know is success in gaming. It's kind of hard to put the player versus the player, but more of what they're able to win with. So if we see like Life Coach bring out Warrior, and then we see, I don't know, maybe against, wow, these are pretty strong classes. Wow.
Yeah.
I was hoping for something a little bit crazier.
Right,
Really
you were
crazy
hoping
thing that I
maybe
see is
Shaman
Paladin.
or Priest could come out, but
Yeah.
no, not right now, Crip.
Damn, there's enough good classes in the game. Damn it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we're still going to see some pretty interesting stuff. But yeah, there's Paladin there. There's some interesting stuff.
Yeah, and Mage is missing from Nihilum too. That's what also interests me because it feels like they chose Paladin directly over the Mage, but more importantly, that both teams seem to value Rogue, which is starting to always loom there as the dark horse. Rogue always gets neglected because of the more obvious classes that people want to complain about, of Hunter, Warlock, etc. But Rogue is also, I think, very powerful in this format too. So this doesn't surprise me to be there.
I think Rogue right now is considered one of the best decks next to Grim Patron Warrior for ladder. This is the Oil Rogue, of course. It's just kind of working again, and most players agree. So I'm not too surprised to see Rogue because in the Conquest format, it is similar to a ladder experience, and I think with this type of class variety, you kind of see the ladder experience to an even greater extent. Like in some tournaments when people only bring 3 classes, it's kind of skewed a little bit. But here with 6, looks pretty good to me. I think the Paladin is really the adventurous one here. I think the rest is pretty standard. The rest won't have any issues grabbing a win.
Yeah, and I'd be leaning towards Life Coach playing a more control version, and if it's RDU, maybe playing a more aggressive Paladin version we've been seeing. By the way, guys, we do want to mention the bench rule that if a player loses twice in a row, they're not allowed to play another game until a teammate at least wins 1. And so they can't just have one player that they're super reliant upon.
Right.
And obviously, if they're a little bit cold, they're going to have to sit down on the virtual bench here. But as a result, we do have the players who will be playing different classes, and I don't think it's necessarily lined up the way you see it. Like, for example, I don't think Firebat's the one playing Mage and Warlock guaranteed. It's always an unknown factor up until the moment that it's chosen. Excuse me.
Oh, I see. Okay. That kind of changes it up a little bit, at least at the start. Yeah, pretty good stuff. I'm pretty excited to see what comes out of this. I really am. I think we'll see some standard decks as normal tournaments go, but I'm really hoping we see some adventurous stuff. Even though Conquest is kind of the format that punishes people from playing crazy stuff, I think the limits have to be pushed just a little bit in this case.
All right, cool. Well, I'm ready for the first game here, Crip. I mean, is there a general class that you feel like people should be sending out first as a feeler? I mean, people always look at classes like Druid, which is even matchups across the field here, but is there another class that you tend to favor here?
I think with Conquest format and the fact that you have to decide as a team, I'd be surprised if there's any strategy other than rolling a dice in this case.
That's fair too. I do think some classes are advantaged over others, though. Warlock's always a pretty strong class to start off too with because it's generally very versatile, and also it throws your opponent off kilter in the very beginning because you don't know exactly which Warlock you're playing. So it can get a pretty strong win sometimes just solely off that the strength and the surprise factor. But I agree. There's also nothing wrong with starting off with like Hunter, for example, either.
That is kind of true. Now that I think about it a little bit more, even though we sometimes see players get demoralized when they grab a loss or two in their opening series, it feels like the morale as a team can crumble harder than just an individual's. So maybe perhaps opening up with the strong classes is a pretty good decision, in fact.
Absolutely. So the first game is about to get underway, guys. Make sure to get out there on social media, #ATLC, and let your friends know about what's going on. Again, this is the biggest event of the year outside of BlizzCon. It's matching that prize pool. It's $250,000. And it's all the collection of your favorite players and the best teams. I don't really think people are complaining about this type of lineup. But normally people are like, okay, maybe, we've been seeing some of these familiar faces for a while. But when they're playing for stakes like this in a team format, I think it's really cool because we don't really see teams, battling it out since really the days of Fight Night, right, Crip?
Yeah, and the team format is an interesting one. It's been played out a little bit. I'm really glad to see it again. I'm really glad just to see something else. It feels like every year Blizzard dictates what people will play for tournaments, and anything that goes against that norm is really exciting for me. So I'm really glad this event got off the ground, and well, we're here and we're about to kick it off.
Do you have any predictions between Nihilum and Archon at all?
Nihilum and Archon. Yeah, it's really tough to call. I kind of have to root for Archon a little bit just because of their dominance on ladder, and as a team, I think they're probably going into this with maybe the slightest of edges.
Oh, already looks like he aged like about 15 to 20 years in his portrait, but he definitely looks very menacing indeed.
Firebat got
in the meantime.
The smooth skin treatment from the artist there.
Yeah, he's very young indeed. We're going to start with Paladin versus Mage, by the way. Nihilum already throwing a curveball, starting off with Paladin in the first match. I mean, this is the unique classes in terms of the differences of teams, right? Both teams have 5 classes that are similar, but they chose the one that they differentiate upon.
Yeah. And I think there's some decision-making here. I mean, we've seen from Archon, quite a varied mage lineup in the past. Even with players who aren't participating, they probably had some input in this tournament. So, we might even see like, the type of mage that Orange plays. Who knows? And Paladin, it's been pretty good. It's just a little bit underplayed. So again, it allows for that just a little bit of room for creativity, that little bit of room of difference that might be pretty exciting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Firebat whip out Freeze Mage here. I think if you can context of like how Freeze Mage is still really good in Conquest, even though there is a wide field of decks out there, it still is really powerful, given that if you expect aggro, Freeze Mage is one of the best decks at stopping that. And on the flip side, we've been seeing this aggressive Paladin really take shape on ladder a lot. People were even playing it at DreamHack. And, to minor success. It wasn't the most dominating deck, but it wasn't poor either. Do you have opinions on this deck?
It's pretty good. It tends to do slightly better in tournaments than on ladder because it's kind of easy to ban what it sucks against. But yeah, it's a little bit different situation here. It's kind of hard to guess. The matchups are pretty poor against like the Zooey type of decks generally, because the Paladin minions are pretty strong, but when you play so many smaller ones, like an Imp Gang boss just chumps up so many cards.
We already see a couple of interesting choices here, at least just on RDU's side, as Firebat's view does make it indicate that he is playing Freeze Mage. So RDU kept Divine Favor, because I think he's really putting an easy read on Firebat to bring that Freeze Mage and normally draws cards. Because Tempo Mage is often dumping their card hand to try to really control the state of the board, especially against aggressive decks. So that's a really good read from RDU.
Yep. but now the deck's pretty figured out. We got Freeze Mage, and RDU might not be too happy to see that.
Yeah, one also interesting choice that we've been seeing develop in the aggressive Paladin is the Argent Protector as well. I know some people who were originally playing this deck wasn't including it, but it's just so good because Divine Shields, turns out, are really impossible to deal with sometimes efficiently, especially if you're playing classes that have to double dip damage like Druid or Rogue. So a lot of times the Argent Protector just really helps you secure it, even though you feel like, isn't that more of a board-oriented thing and not a face damage thing? You can protect your Wolf Riders, your Arcane Golems, and do massive damage.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same. When you play this type of deck, just putting on a Divine Shield, while it is like a board control type of play, that damage survives the turn. That's kind of the idea behind it. Play the zoo game, get your minutes to survive, get an attack 2, maybe 3 in, and then you're basically won. The main difference with the Paladin deck as opposed to a lot of other very aggressive decks is that it really lacks in the burst damage. So you kind of have to rely on, if you're playing as the Freeze Mage, you have to rely on him drawing like pretty badly, because he can just stall you out for so long normally. And, well, let's just say Divine Favor is a good card to have in that case.
Yeah. Well, he's got 2 Divine Favors, and it's a little clunky. You'd prefer to have something you can dump easily in Abusive Sergeant and then go for Divine Favor. But I guess he's not complaining. He has his ultimate source of card draws. Firebat struggling a little bit, but it's not critical levels just yet. I mean, he does have some AoE, he does have a Blizzard and Flame Strike in the next couple of turns, but ultimately, he still needs to find ways to pick up things like Ice Blocks. That way Alexstrasza can set up maybe a kill, or he needs ways to eventually stop this aggression from being able to overwhelm him.
So he goes with the board control play, which turns out to be much better because not only does it reduce the amount of damage next turn, but it denies RDU that extra card. I feel some players would have considered not playing Frostbolt and just setting up for a better Blizzard, and that would have been a bit worse for him.
Yeah, and the fact that RDU, again, picked up True Silver Champion a little clunky because it wouldn't allow him to play anything else. It is just damage to the face, and he picks up a second True Silver. So this is a lot of damage that he has over turns, but he wants to just start pushing out a lot of damage soon. Like you said, this deck does end up struggling with burst sometimes, and you need that in order to threaten a deck like Freeze Mage, because it can take its time in this scenario.
I just feel like the True Silvers are actually the cards that you need. Because the True Silver requires the Mage to use his freezes inefficiently, which lowers the damage ceiling, which usually gives you an extra turn to push for damage. And I mean, you're never really going to have like that many extra creatures on the board. Like if you hit like 7, they're not going to get to attack. So I think right now we're kind of at the stage where he has enough minions to where they're just not threatening enough to require Firebat to deal with them as aggressively as possible.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. The way I see it is that I think, as much as this True Silver is great and whatnot, I think the key is really to be able to just pressure before the Ice Block really comes out here. But the thing is that the Emperor Thorson is also even more threatening because of what Freeze Mage can do, reducing the mana. Oh man, that Doomsayer was a pretty nice draw there here, Crip.
It was. Firebat decides to stall out with it.
Mm-hmm. And it's important to stop any kind of charger from being able to come out here. Both owls have been used as well, so you can't silence his owl and then do a buff play.
Mm-hmm. This is pretty all in though. He's gonna have to Alexstrasza the Paladin, because that's the only chance he has of killing him. And if Alexstrasza can't push for damage, it probably will. But if RDU draws some taunt or some way to deal with it, it might be problematic. But if he doesn't get the Alexstrasza hit, it's going to be really hard to win.
Yeah, it's interesting too because even though you have Alexstrasza hit plus a Fireball and ping is 15, he has a True Silver. So he will actually heal out of lethal range for you.
Yep.
So it's not even guaranteed that you can kill him. You need a little help off of the deck.
Exactly. That's really the problem. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, this is a really defensive play. I mean, he has a Mad Scientist as well, so whatever he pulls out, Ice Barrier or Ice Block, will be super helpful. So I guess he's just going for a very defensive play here, because he realizes he probably can't kill his opponent anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with one Frostbolt down, you're just drawn to the other Fireball. And you're hoping you're not getting taunted. Which is a bit optimistic. Like, yeah, there's you already seen one Annoyatron, and while I don't know exactly the current list that RDU is running, but we have seen some other taunts from this deck in the past. I think we've seen Argus, sometimes like a one of.
Okay, holding on to some of his buffs, it makes sense. You don't want the Abusive Sergeant to just go down easily.
Yeah.
So I really think the Mad Scientist here is a big priority. I'm not sure if you'd want to freeze the face again, but I wouldn't blame him for feeling like necessary to do so. It's not even the fact that you're trying to stop the Light's Justice from hitting you, but again, the threat of maybe the Chuso #2 or Cog Hammer, those weapons can be threats over time.
Yeah. He actually prevented lethal, by the way, with that Flame Strike. Because King's True Silver was actually lethal.
So there's 17 damage next turn, and the Paladin has 19, so RDU is still safe in his mind. He can take this opportunity to develop minions. But now it's, again, a little bit awkward. Freeze Mage is going on the offensive and it's all in, but RDU doesn't have exact ways to stop this easily.
Yeah. Well, the only card here that really kills you is Pyroblast. And I don't think that's really common anymore. Some people run like a one of, but even then, his only answer for it would be to Consecrate here, which seems terrible.
Yeah, I mean, he can also do it retroactively if his opponent decides to trade for some reason, but in this case, I can't imagine Firebat doing so. That Ice Barrier, though,
that's really big. I think he actually Fireball the Leper Gnome.
Yeah, Fireball on the Leper Gnome seems a much better play, just because that way he doesn't have to use Alexstrasza or even take the damage. And once again, shows lethal for next turn.
Yeah, that's right.
Now that Divine Favor #2 feels so useless, I already wish he had something else here. Argent Squire is not a good pickup, so that's going to end the game.
This is such a weird situation. Like, if you imagine yourself as the Paladin, it's like, you know, how am I not playing Divine Favor against a Freeze Mage? How does he have 0 cards?
Yeah. It's like those sometimes when you're playing Hunter against Handlock. Handlock's got like 1 card or 2 cards in their hand. They never can tap. It feels like this weird scenario again where you have more cards than the control deck that's trying to stop your aggression. So this is a really uncomfortable spot. RDU, of course, knows that either that's Ice Barrier or Ice Block, and either way, it stops him from being able to do anything this game.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't die next turn with the Consecrate, but he's basically dead. Like, this Paladin deck does not have any capability to deal with Alexstrasza and gain life with 1 card, which is all he's getting next turn.
Well, he might be able to pick something up that trades into Alexstrasza, and he has another 2 heal from True Silver. So it's not 100% guaranteed over next turn, but it's going to be tough. I mean, Firebat has a lot of ways to draw cards into his burn, right? He has yet to pick up his Acolytes, his Arcane Intellect to draw more cards.
I think he actually ping the dude.
The 1/1, you mean? Yeah. It feels like that should be it, because either way, he's attacked with Chuso.
That's all right. I think he's thinking about it. I don't think it really matters now that I keep looking at it. We'll just agree with whatever Firebat does.
Well, I think it matters if this Loot Hoarder can get in an attack.
Yeah, but it's not going to.
Yeah, probably not. And there's nothing else to do here. You can't take down Alexstrasza. Unfortunately, you didn't pick up anything else. Blessing of Kings would have been great.
You can draw a card here.
Oh, you're right.
And I think the card you need to draw is Kings.
Quality, right?
No, it's the Kings. I don't think equality is in the deck. Yeah.
I mean, some people have taken it in and out. It's always been cycling. Depends on what people read on the metagame, but that's going to be it. And Firebat takes the first game, despite RDU getting some of the key cards in this matchup in order to secure the victory. So Archon off to a great start.
Yeah. While, you know, I don't like to punish players for losing. I'm kind of glad that RDU lost because we'll get to see the Paladin again.
Oh,
It's a
is
good
that
way to
what?
think about it, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's
a good
very
way.
optimistic of you.
Yeah.
Man, Crip, you've changed so much, man. You're looking on the bright side of things now. Awesome.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
Archon
well,
takes the lead. It's again, you kind of mentioned a little bit how the team dynamic maybe changes a little bit in terms of the optimism of things. I certainly know that in the past when we've cast actually the team tournaments together, that once the teams start getting like 2 losses, some teams just feel like completely demoralized, and
Yeah.
man. If that happens in this tournament, it's going to be pretty tragic.
Yeah, because there's a few dynamics to it. One, you're losing, so of course you're not happy with how the result is because you don't want to be, losing to your opponents. The second thing is you're losing on behalf of your team.
Yeah.
So then you're also letting down your teammates. And of course, it could be flipped the opposite way. You're losing, you did your part, but you're watching your teammates lose, and it's frustrating sometimes because it's like, no, you're not doing it right. So then sometimes there's a little bit of dissent, a little dissent between the players. Yeah, tension. I remember Doggy House with when Artosis was making mistakes and Ecop would just rip into him relentlessly all the time. And, that was part of the fun for us to watch. But of course, the players themselves weren't enjoying it too much.
Yeah. That's how it runs. All right. So Archon gets the first point of the tournament. How about that? Now, I believe Firebat has to stay. Does he not?
I don't know. It's Conquest, right? So if Conquest is truly the format here in terms of the best of 11, then that means it's blind pick, and they can send out anybody they want.
Send anybody. Yeah. It's about if you lose, and if you lose 2, you get benched. That's the idea. Right. Yeah. Okay.
And we'll follow that up, by the way, with I believe the classes are actually aligned to the player. The mages belong to the Firebat, and then Paladin to RD. So that's my mistake earlier. I just want to clarify that.
Okay. It could just be a wild coincidence if we're just going off the graphic here.
That would be pretty sick. But, I mean, it does make sense. Tice on Druid, Zolay on Warrior.
Yeah.
6-0 on Hunter, I guess. No, 6-0 is more of a rogue player than he
Life
is.
coach on Warlock and Warrior. That's pretty telling.
Yeah. It all makes sense. I know RDU also really loves Hunter. For some reason, RDU's favorite matchup in all of Hearthstone is Hunter versus Hunter. No matter what version it is. Like, if it's face versus face, mid-range versus mid-range, etc., he loves it.
Maybe it's one of those, torture systems where, you can hate it, and then if you do it enough, you kind of get used to it.
Yeah, like drinking beer.
I kind of like Hunter versus Hunter. Yeah, it's a cool matchup. Yeah. There's actually a decent amount of strategy when it comes to, squeezing every single point of damage. So I can kind of understand that. It does feel that even though, Hunter may seem a bit simplistic, it's usually the case that Hunter is matched up against like a slow control deck where the Hunter just plays out every card from hand and points face and hopes for the best. But against another aggressive... Oh my god, what is that? Are we watching Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah, I think so. Or a really old school kung fu movie. Life Coach has got that Mr. Miyagi look right now, man. On 6-0, he's got... Is that a legend crystal? Because he always gets first every season. All right. Yeah, that's pretty cute. Idea. I like it.
Yep. Man, all these smooth-skinned Archon players, all these kids, man.
Yeah, they're trying to pitch them as like the young up-and-comers, and Nihilum as like the old established, vanguard that they got to destroy.
Oh, is it like villains versus the new good guys?
Supposedly, I mean, just look at that milky white complexion on 6-0. He's innocent. He's innocent. He looks like he's actually a student of Hogwarts with this picture.
Wow. Yeah, just
Does he not?
Yeah.
But he found the Sorcerer's Stone, Crip.
Yeah. It is Life Coach on Warrior, 6-0 on Hunter. So, again, it does seem like the classes are attributed to the players, as I had originally guessed. Looking good for Life Coach, I believe. This matchup can go either way, but I think Life Coach has played Warrior enough, and I think it's really on the Warrior to make like the very correct plays to do well in this match. The Hunter just kind of plays that game where you play stuff and throw it in his face most of the time.
Mm-hmm. There is a dynamic where Hunter sometimes tries to make Warrior uncomfortable with the way they line up their threats, but for the most part, you're absolutely right. Warrior has to make the reads. They have to know what removal to line up, and more importantly, what kind of Warrior's life coach playing. Because for people who are tuning into Hearthstone, they're still kind of new to the players and their styles. There's a reason why life coach is holding a rope that burns down, and I'm really worried if he plays something like Patron Warrior, because I know life coach is also a guy that brings decks that he practiced relentlessly, but it's always scary to watch him play decks that also require a lot of thought and more importantly, time to execute.
Yeah, that's true. But also I feel like the matchup against the Hunter, while experience is really, really important, I feel like those types of like ridiculous decisions are still fairly rare. But at the same time, Blizzard did change the turn timer from 90 to 70 seconds, and that was fairly recent. I don't know if Life Coach has played many tournaments since that.
Yeah, I believe it was last fall they changed it, like right after Next Rammus released. That's when they ninja nerfed it or buffed it, whatever you want to consider.
Oh, really?
it.
I thought it was more recent than that.
No. Someone noticed it recently, made a big fuss, and apparently, like they clarified. They tweeted at Ben Brode and Zarya, and then they're like, "No, it actually was been in since like Nax Rammus."
Okay, never mind.
Not exactly sure why they didn't. I don't think they clarified, but
I'm not complaining.
I don't usually require 90 seconds.
Like that would be the nerf to Grim Patron Warrior. You just stealth nerf the turn timer by 20 seconds in one patch. Huh? Pretty good stuff. All right. Well, I think we're going to get into this matchup pretty soon. Looks like Froden has abandoned me. I'm all alone here, looking at Life Coach and Sixo's art. Yep.
All right, hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Skype had a mini hiccup. Apparently, Life Coach has a problem selecting his deck, so we're just in the middle of stuff here. So I apologize for the delay. In the meantime, though, do want to talk about other stuff here happening with the Archon Team League. You just want to remind you guys that's going to be going on for 8 weeks, so hope you guys get comfortable. We're also going to have a broadcast tomorrow. Are you casting tomorrow, Crip, by any chance?
I don't think I am. No, I don't think so. I am. Both of us are going to be back and forth casting, one here, one there.
That's right.
I think we're both casting the majority of them, but with so many tournament dates, we're not quite able to get through all of them.
Yeah, we have other guys like Monk from Team Liquid who's going to be hopping on. I believe Rekful will be hopping on and casting too.
You're casting with Rekful tomorrow.
Oh, am I? Okay,
yep.
That's great.
And
I mean,
tomorrow's match is going to be the other teams. It's going to be Forsen Boys versus Tempo Storm, and Celestial versus Team Liquid.
Oh, that should be really fun then. Really fun. Yeah, it's cool. I haven't actually heard Rekful cast since Lord of the Arena. I'm not sure if he's been doing anything since then in terms of Hearthstone casting. And we also have some players also hopping in to be doing some casting too throughout the weeks. I know a lot of people were like, well, I really like Chalky's casting and I really enjoy when Gara hops on the mic. I believe those guys will be rotating in and out, as well as Amaz, who also is basically spearheading this entire initiative as well. So he'll be rotating in too.
Yep, that's right. I actually don't see Chalky on this list, but I hope he comes around. He's been doing a pretty good job recently.
Absolutely. All right. Well, looks like we at least got one POV, and that is Sixo, the Hunter player. He's got an opening hand that indicates that he might be more of the face hunter, although you never can be truly too sure nowadays.
That's a little bit of a letdown. I feel like this match from the... Oh, there we go. We did get to see the Warrior POV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this match from the Warrior side is really the more interesting one.
Oh, so you're just saying you wanted to be on Life Coach's POV. Is that what it was?
Yeah, but we get it anyway. It's good. It's good.
All right.
So the Frothing Berserker means he's playing either Math Warrior or Grim Patron Warrior, and you'd be crazy to play Math Warrior these days without Grim Patron. So if you're playing Patron Warrior, you got some of the combo cards. You got the Armor Smith. You got the double axe to stop the aggression. I think you're in really good shape here.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. Now, Life Coach chose to play the War Axe from the left, but for all intents and purposes, 6 will assume that his opponent will be trying to keep other cards like Death Spite too. And that Armor Smith will be really key because the thing about Fire War Axe is it's great to get board position and stop aggro, but you still take a lot of damage, especially if they put out Animal Companion. Like anything that comes out of it, Fire War Axe can't deal with it very effectively without taking a lot of damage back. So this Armor Smith will be super key.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if he's considering dropping the Frothing this turn. I think sometimes players drop like the Charger here, and it's totally a mistake. But I think the Armor Smith and the Frothing are both pretty good plays. I like the Frothing though, much more aggressive. But again, it kind of gets stopped by the Misha. No Misha though.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In this case, Sixto has a slightly awkward turn. The best way to deal with the Frothing, you don't want him to get out of control because that's certainly a card that can punish you heavily with so many ways to remove a 1 health minion and start stacking more damage back at yourself.
Yeah, but like how do you get rid of that? I mean, the only real way is Arcane Golem, and the only thing worse than leaving a Frothing is giving a Mana Crystal to a Grim Patron combo warrior. I guess you just silence and keep going.
I guess so. It's really awkward, like we're saying, but probably the best in this scenario to take care of it. But now there's a board clear available.
Yeah, this is pretty easy, I feel. You drop the Armor Smith, you attack with a weapon first, and then grab an armor point, killing one of the creatures with the Frothing.
I wonder how important it is to maintain health and versus keeping the Inner Rage here, because the Inner Rage does effectively gain you a couple points of health, but more importantly keeps your Frothing more health also, so that way it doesn't have to die to explosive traps or a weapon hit from an Eagle Horn Bow. But if he did have the Eagle Horn Bow, maybe he would have also taken out that Frothing Berserker last turn. So there's a lot of things going through Life Coach's mind right now.
If he has explosive traps, then that's totally fine because you have a Grim Patron in hand.
Oh yeah, that's true. Grim Patron on turn 5, so you can just get that extra copy right immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, you also can get to armor up too if you use his Inner Rage, but it depends on how he wants to stylize it too, because the Fire War Axe doesn't necessarily have the biggest impact for normal stuff against mid-range warrior, starting from the later turns, but against face warrior, it's always live. It could always kill whatever comes out.
Okay, well, he uses the Inner Rage there. Pretty interesting turn, actually.
Yeah, he did a halfway
point
between both of the plays that we were talking about. So he still conserved his health on himself, but he let his Frothing Berserker take the damage, so that way he can gain an armor point here. And then more importantly, he started attacking the face with the Fiery War Axe, right?
Yeah.
Well, 6-0 drew his second explosive trap. That's very unlucky considering that he already has one and he'd rather be able to play out threats or start racing. But now that this explosive trap will gain 3 health for his opponent and be able to clone a Grim Patron here, this is really tight here for 6-0 at the moment.
Yeah, 6-0 is just starting to fall massively behind. He's got quite a bit of burst, but he's not really in position to rely on it. He still has to get a lot more damage through, and that's just so hard to do at this point. I actually don't see how anything's really going to happen from the Hunter side.
Well, I mean, never say never. If there's enough Grim Patrons onto the board or things on the board, the Unleash the Hounds get stronger. You can pick up major damage through kill commands or quick shots combinations. And I mean, it's like you said, there is damage in the hand. But I don't really foresee it being that big of an issue considering this Armor Smith will continue to stay alive. And there's really no incentive for Life Coach to attack into the Explosive Trap unless he wants to be aggressive.
I kind of like the Ghoul and Armor Up play.
Yeah, and then passing?
Yeah, and just developing more creatures just to maximize the armor throughout the game.
Your opponent had 5 mana. Well, okay, he had 3 mana after playing the Explosive Trap, and he couldn't play anything, and it's pretty clear that your opponent's playing the more aggressive variant of Hunter.
Yeah.
So you have to anticipate that your opponent might be holding cards that can damage you back.
Okay, well, Life Coach continues the aggression. He
There
gets
is a train of
4
thought.
Marabra for this, and you get the push for 6.
Yeah, and there is a train of thought too that you can play defensive against Hunter all you want, but eventually you have to find out a way to kill him too.
Yeah.
This is why, like, for example, sometimes if you play a combo deck like Malygos Warlock, you can play defensive with all these implosions and Hellfire stuff, or you can sometimes be super aggressive, hit face, and try to race them with your own burn. And I think Life Coach might be looking at that. He's saying, I'm at a comfortable enough health that I don't have to be super defensive and give time for Hunter to draw into good cards, and I can just probably pressure for the win in a couple turns.
Well, Sixo here has an opening to deal with these Grim Patrons, but because they were on the board for a while, and because Grim Patron Warrior has Battle Rage, well, it doesn't matter as much that he can clear them, but it looks like he's probably going to.
I mean, he has to trade. He has to trade against the Patron Warrior here in order to stay alive.
Not quite.
Well, I mean, I meant the sense that he couldn't leave that Warsong Commander up there because it's just too much of a threat.
Yeah. I think this is a pretty good execute Whirlwind turn.
Yeah, and he leaves, he doesn't get super greedy and plays a second Acolyte, which is very understandable considering that. Oh,
I'm surprised he didn't attack first with the Grim Patron though. He could have gotten another. He could have gotten 2 more patrons actually.
Oh, you mean hit into the 1/1?
Yeah, hit into the 1/1, then Whirlwind. That gives you 2 more patrons.
Yeah, and he already just used Unleash the Hounds, right? So it's unlikely that he has a second one. In fact, a lot of people are cutting Unleash the Hounds and just saying, I'll have 1 at most. It's a good observation, Crit.
Look at Life Coach right now.
Yeah, I can't tell if Life Coach is the one losing if you just judge by the faces.
It's that smooth Archon complexion, man. Just throws you off guard. If only Life Coach could see 6-0 now.
Well, he's gonna defeat him and steal his potion of youth or whatever it is. That's the secret to keeping him so young looking. How much damage is this? It's 7-9, so a few damage points
Trying
short.
to get lethal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not yet. You can still go for it. You can Cruel Task the Acolyte. 5 though. That's kind of hard. Like, how do you get 5 in 1 card? I don't think you do.
The most you can probably get is Death's Bite, and then Inner Rage. Those are like the.
Yeah. I just don't think you're getting lethal this turn.
Okay.
There's no like 1 card lethal draw.
Are you worried about your opponent lethaling you at all?
Not really. I think you're comfortable enough.
Okay, cool task to copy another Grim Patron. Running out of time, though. Life Coach has to play this Unstable Ghoul and armor up quickly in order to pass the turn here.
He gets it, though. It looks good.
Okay. Well, he got the Death Bite, so he's got 4 damage from the hand.
Yeah.
But this is looking like a victory here for Life Coach. 6-0 ran out of Explosive Traps, so he can't even stop this aggression next turn. And so he
probably ran out of traps altogether, yeah.
Yeah. And that means Life Coach evens up the series at 1 apiece. But, I mean, the series is just getting started. It's a best of 11, Crip. We're in here for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. I think it mostly had to do with the great opener that Life Coach got. There wasn't too much that 6-0 could do with what he had. Opening up with a Coin Knife Juggler, leaves you really vulnerable to a few cards. And, well, Life Coach had all those cards. So, didn't really work out for 6-0. And it is evened up, as you mentioned.
Yeah, the life gain and the board control through the weapons was too much. And plus, 6-0 had awkward draws, too.
Yeah.
All right, so Life Coach has gotten the Warrior out of the way here. Remember, this is Conquest. You have to win with every deck, which means you're only as strong as your weakest player. Or weakest deck. Let's go ahead and put it that way. Let's not put the pressure too much on the players themselves here. I'm
just thinking back. Wasn't RDU supposed to like stay?
No, it's Conquest, man. Everything is blind pick every game
Every game is blind pick. Okay.
in Conquest, right? So it's as if you switch decks, but the decks are tied to a player. It's not like Life Coach and be like, well, RDU, maybe you're bad with Paladin, I'll play Paladin. Like, you can't do that.
So
Plus, he won't do that because he's a gentleman.
yeah, the bench rule is as if one player just tries too hard and it just doesn't work. I guess that's the idea.
Yeah, I think it's that way. You can't just like queue up. Like if Firebat was losing with Freeze Mage repeatedly, you can't just queue up 5 games in a row with Freeze Mage and just try to win it out of the way.
Completely tank it.
Yeah, I guess so. So it forces some variety onto the teams, so that way, that way you save the embarrassment and also the Gosu Gamer ranking points, so you don't just go 0-5.
Well, this is going to be a really weird tournament to rank in that sense.
Yeah, I guess it's just solely based off your individual series performance that you get your points.
All right. Well, I wonder if the players are going with a dice roll or if we're going to see some decks from the remaining players. Maybe we'll see Tice versus Zele coming up. That would be pretty interesting. I'm always pretty happy to see Tice play Druid. There's always some like crazy or aggressive way to play Druid that I didn't think was possible that Tice always shows me that is every single time I see him play. So that's pretty cool. Druid's one of those classes that can win against everything, but some players seem to have just surprising amount of consistency with. Tice is one of those players. After these two teams battle off today, of course we have Value Town versus Cloud9 right after, and we'll get to see their lineup. We'll get to see their decks. Tomorrow we'll see the remaining teams, and across these 2 days you'll get to see all the players, all the decks, all the classes, and really we can start shaping up the competition at that stage. We'll probably get into this game here in just a second. Oh man, I wish Fred was here to see this. We got Tice versus
I'm
LA.
here. I'm
Oh,
here.
welcome.
I'm back.
We have,
Whoa!
yeah.
What is this? Tice is Tarzan.
Yep.
And wait, no, Zele is Zele is King Mukla. What is going on here?
Oh god.
Why is he? What's with the rubber ducky?
I don't know, man. It's that twisted smile that's just kind of getting me right now.
I feel a little bad too because Firebat and Sixto looked kind of cute, like in an innocent boy way, but now Zele looks really creepy comparatively.
You think the ducky is never
the
lucky?
rubber.
Never
Something's
lucky
going
rubber
on. There's
ducky.
an inside joke at the Archon house that we are not aware of right now, Crip.
Okay, well they're probably getting some pretty good kicks out of it.
And it involves some bath toys. Or does it? Meanwhile, Tice, he's going to be bringing his Druid here up against Warrior. Zele almost certainly going to be bringing Patron Warrior. It's a deck that he's fallen in love with since the moment it dropped in Black Rock Mountain, and he's been playing it to top legends on multiple servers simultaneously. I think he was holding number 1 and number 2 in Europe.
All the Archon players were around there. They were really trying to push for those ladder points.
Yeah, that's true. They were like, they were also doing streams where they were like partnering up and playing ladder and just talking through plays and stuff. So it was like, 6-0 he was also top legend, but then Zele and Purple Drank were also doing big pushes too.
Yeah, the Archon guys really like to collectively do well on ladder at the same time. If you've seen some of the tweets, they got the 1, 2, 3, 4 sometimes. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Pretty fun to look at.
It was.
They're certainly like extremely dedicated, because I mean, just being at that spot, it's like, yeah, of course you have to be pretty good. All these players are pretty good, but you really just have to put in so many games. You have to be so composed in all of them, and and really be at the top of your game.
I agree. When are you going to make the big push, Crip, to the top ends of Legend? When are you going to start tryharding, huh?
You just have to make it worth it. I feel like the reward system's pretty lackluster right now.
I must protect.
Gotcha. Well, do you have the card back?
Nope.
Well, there's one incentive at least.
Eh.
If you're going to go for every golden card in the game, you have to get every card back too, right?
Yeah, maybe one day.
And you have the most valuable account in Hearthstone.
There's no way that I do. There's people who spent like tens of thousands of dollars on like every single card already.
Yeah, but the card backs though, the card backs.
I still don't have too many good ones. Like I don't have the Dalaran Flame. I think the best card back in the game is actually the Chinese exclusive one. It's like a full golden regular one. I don't even know how you get that, but I'm like so jelly.
Fly to China and go into one of their open tournaments in order to get that card back.
Is it still available?
I think so. I think it's available to every season they have the open tournaments. So.
But can you actually activate that on like a US account? Like, can you go there and play with a US account?
I'm sure there's ways to finagle it. There has to be, because it shows in your card collection. So there's got to be a way that maybe they give you the code.
It could just be something that they're going to push at a later time.
Possibly.
Wow. Well, looks like Tice is about to buy some packs right now.
Yeah, perhaps so.
Or is that Zelly?
Yeah. No. Tice is the Druid player, right?
Yeah, right. So Zelly's about to buy some packs right now.
Well, we were trying to practically get him back in here, but this Wild Growth Start is really key for Tice in order to get started here, just because the Druid needs to be able to threaten the Patron Warrior with minions, and this Innervate and the Wild Growth combination will allow him to seize the board. Although, he still needs a way to fill out the curve. He's got a turn 4 Sylvanas and like a turn 5 BGH-ish, but he still needs a little bit of help, so that way he could make it even smoother.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there's some merit to just drop the BGH and innervate the Ancient Allure the following turn because of the clunkiness?
Yeah, actually, that might even be much better, considering that you really need to fill out this hand and make sure that Wild Growth.
Oh no, that's perfect. There you go. With that draw, I think the innervate Sylvanas is pretty clear. Normally, Sylvanas is punished by silence, but I guess in this case, well, he coin out the Acolyte, so yeah, he wouldn't be able to pump out a weapon. It would have to be like an Inner Rage Fiery War Axe counter to it.
Mm-hmm.
That would have to be it. I don't think there's anything else than that.
Yeah, and normally that's another way you can deal with Sylvanas. You can try to just remove your entire board, but I think it's important for the Warrior, if he had Inner Rage, to also consider saving it, even though it might feel like you want to use the Inner Rage to get rid of the Sylvanas immediately. The thing is that if you have Death Spite and you have a Grim Patron in hand, the really powerful thing to do on turn 5 is to go for a Grim Patron, Inner Rage, and then a Whirlwind effect. Because then Druid can't answer it. They have Swipe, but even then that creates another Grim Patron.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is interesting too, going for the immediate big game hunter to try and bump into this Acolyte.
More packs?
To get punished.
Packs?
What now?
But he's got 0 packs, Crip. He has to play Tavern Brawl first, and then play a bunch of Web Spinner decks, and then get the free packs and open it up.
Okay. Oh, it looks like he has the Inner Rage.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's pretty indicative that his hand's rather poor, I think.
Really?
Or either late game oriented.
That just feels like a good one. Like, you threaten a 5/4 frothing on the board against the Druid who's got nothing.
But it also could just get answered by Swipe or Wrath. Like, you would hear Power Down and Wrath. I guess, yeah, maybe you're right.
You'd still have board control then. Swipe or Wrath is fine.
Yeah, fair enough.
You'd still be winning.
Personally, it just means that he probably doesn't have any way to snap the board, because it's not even necessarily more about the pressure on Druid a lot of time. Well, I guess it does in the sense that you can threaten damage, but again, I think the Grim Patrons are just so powerful if you can get them out early and you use those combo pieces early to flood the board. So
yeah, Druid really struggles to remove those patrons often. The Druid has to be like kind of winning to kind of prevent the Patron play altogether.
Mhm.
So usually when you see Patron, the Warrior's not in that situation, and he just wins from there. Yeah, a little
Alright, so
bit down there. You can't see the Warrior POV. We can tell that Zele is really thinking about something here.
Turn 4 is pretty much Deathspite set up. So if he like hits the face with it because he doesn't have anything else, or he's
In a rage.
All right, there it is. And his opponent just used Big Game Hunter, so
Yeah, there's not
That's a
much that
salty
the Druid
dog.
can do here. That is a salty dog, but for 3 mana, that gets bigger. Nerf, please.
yeah.
Really here, it just has to be Sylvanas, I guess.
Yeah, well, are you taking too much damage? You might even consider just tossing in a Force of Nature.
No, you have the
Because-
combo in hand. Like, how do you win if you do that? You're timed against this Warrior deck.
That's fair, but then also, what if you might just take too much damage, though? But then, how does he deal with Sylvanas? I guess he just lets he just
Frothing.
does damage and then lets you pick up the bad trade.
Okay, well, he goes with the Force of Nature.
Yeah, Tice is scared, and rightfully so. That Berserker is easily a way to get out of control with a Death Spite activated. I don't trust him at all.
Yeah. It's just with 5 mana, it's hard to play much and combo much. That's why it's, like, not really that bad.
Yeah,
Look, another one.
Armor made to fit.
the
And Armor Smith. So it would have been 4 more. It would have been 11 plus 4. He would have been at 8 life. Yeah, okay, that would have sucked.
well, that's one way to describe the situation. And this situation is not that much better either. Normally, you want to disarm the Deathspite as soon as you can, so that way Warrior can't get the optimal timing with its Whirlwind effect release. But Harrison Jones on this board is not very strong either, considering that Father Berserker is already out there, and you buff it up once again to a pretty
that's
high
nice.
proportion of damage.
How's it going? We get that mind at work. Yeah, again, Sylvanas, I guess.
I have no time
Mhm.
for games.
Yeah,
It
let your
just feels
opponent
like-
deal with it.
Yeah, like if you're not playing aggressively as the Druid, you're really just playing whatever. It's like, I hope he doesn't have this. I hope he doesn't have that. And that
Mhm.
type of game, Dice has not been doing so well so far in.
Yeah, this Sylvanas is a disincentive against Soleil from like doing a huge amount of Grim Patron. Well, I mean, if he does do a Grim Patron, he'll do damage, but then Sylvanas will help control the state of the board a little bit. And then maybe he can have a better impact with Harrison Jones in the next turn if the opponent doesn't play anything and he keeps the Death Spite.
Well, if you have Grim Patron, what can you really do with it outside of just Whirlwind? Oh, I guess Grim Patron Whirlwind's it then.
Yes.
Or
And
not.
he's just going to hope that his opponent steals the Armor Smith. 1 and 4. I believe that the effect triggers before Sylvanas steals something, right? Yes, it does.
Yeah, because the damage happens and then it's wow. I guess he's probably sitting with Execute in hand, I guess.
Mhm.
Okay.
Second Force of Nature. So there's still combo threaten potential in the next couple of turns, but now Tice is introduced to a couple of options here.
None
play-
of them too good though. Again,
Yeah. The Emperor Thorson allows him to reduce the cost of some of these expensive, clunky cards. But I wouldn't
He's got
mind
combo
also
again,
developing
though.
Azure Drake, though.
I mean, again, this is exactly like the last few turns. Just like, okay, I'll slam down Emperor Thorson. If he stays alive, maybe I could do something with combo. If he doesn't, well, I guess I'm screwed. And yeah, it just I don't know. It feels like Zele is just playing his own game, and Tice is just trying to stay alive.
Yeah, although, like, say Zalay hits all face and plays minions, though, that's exact lethal with combo damage. Because it's at 21 health, and 21 plus... Actually, he can do 22 damage because of the hero power.
Yeah.
So Zalay has to not get complacent here. And he needs to deal with this Thorson.
That
He
armor
has
puts him out of range and gives him an extra card. That gives him 2 more points of armor here. Clears the board. It's rough, man. Oh, wow. Another whirlwind.
Second whirlwind. Wow. Now, I wonder if you're contemplating trying to survive by using combo to clear these Grim Patrons. But
I mean, the Warriors
just
at 28. That's just so insane.
oh, wow. He picked up Swipe. Now he has a way to kill the board with Azure Drake.
spell
That was
damage
so big.
Yeah, I just realized, I'm like, man, that swipe doesn't really work. But yeah, with spell damage, it certainly works. It just feels
gains
like
a lot of health.
this doesn't happen so frequently anymore.
No, I mean, back in the day, Druids used to rely on Spell Power Swipe a lot. They even had Thalnos in the deck.
Yeah.
But nowadays, they favor, tempo as opposed to, I guess, that synergy with the Thalnos and the Swipe.
It's kind of weird why you never see it so frequently, though, because I think Azure Drake is really pretty standard in Druid.
Yeah, people don't really play Spectrum Knights anymore at all. I saw it yesterday on HPL with Kranich, but he does weird stuff because he tries to surprise his opponent every time. Generally speaking, Azure Drake's the most standard option.
Yeah. It used to be the
Druid's
case where you couldn't use Azure Drake because you had Spectrals, Sludge Belchers, and Drew the Claws. You just couldn't have, like, another 5-drop.
Do you think it can make its way back? By the way, the second Savage War was really nice too, so we can fit a double Savage War combo.
Yeah.
But do you think Spectrum Knight will make a way back in the metagame? Because I feel like sometimes it's still really strong against the spell-heavy stuff. Like, you can't execute it easily. Most classes can't deal with it very effectively.
Yeah, I think at its peak it was really just a really big punish for the rogue decks that were playing, spell-heavy stuff.
Yeah.
These days, I don't see it as such a direct counter anymore. But, yeah. I mean, we'll certainly see it pretty soon if that's the case. But I don't think that's quite the case.
Yeah, and, well, I mean, we don't have to worry too much about that because the threat is super real right now. Like, Zalay is going to die to a 2 Savage War plus Force of Nature on at least what the Shade should guarantee. Because a lot of these decks, they don't really run Brawl in their Grim Patron Warrior. A few people do try to experiment with it, like Savit from Team Liquid, but it's generally not standard at all. And he already used 2 Whirlwinds plus 2 Death Spites. There's no way he can get rid of that Shade next Rammus. So unless this Doomsayer comes out of...
No, that's it. Yeah.
It has to be Doomsayer.
How about that?
And that's it.
This ridiculous aggression draws from the Druid deck just makes it happen. Zele is probably going to be really surprised here.
Well, I think he's also died to it fair enough. I think he'll be more, not happy with that.
Oh, God.
No reaction, though.
That's
To be
so
fair,
insane.
Zalay's played a lot of, Magic the Gathering online. He was actually the Player of the Year a couple of years back. And if you grind so much, you've had to play a lot and deal with a lot, so he's probably good at keeping his emotions in check in order to keep going here.
Man, that was pretty brutal.
Yep.
Zele just felt like he was winning and Tice just surviving, but I mean, when you draw the combos, just one turn was enough to take it all back. And Tice takes it, puts an extra point on Nihilum's board, and Nihilum is ahead now, 2-1, I believe.
That's right. But it's the first to 6 because it's a best of 11. So we're 1 hour into the broadcast, guys, but we have plenty more action. Of course, we're going to have another match after this as well. It's not the only best of 11 that we have.
Yeah, I talked about it a little bit when you dropped it earlier. It is we're going to see the other quarter of the tournament. So today we're going to go over half of the teams, and tomorrow is going to be the other half. Right now we're doing Nihilum versus Team Archon. Coming up after this, we'll have Value Town versus Cloud9, and the schedule for tomorrow is the other teams: Force and Boys versus Tempo Storm, and Celestial versus Team Liquid.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. I just want to see how the styles match up. I also want to more importantly see if Specialists can finally come out of the woodwork. We've been talking about it for a while, about some people really liking classes that Yeah, it's very weird. For example, Hawkeye did really well in DreamHack with Shaman. He went 7-0 in Swiss with a mid-range Shaman deck, not like a mech Shaman that people are expecting. Or some people sometimes doing well with Priest, like Kalento. Can they bring that? I'm really curious to see that.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see adventurous decks too. I think the format encourages and punishes it, being Conquest, but it is 6 classes, so you kind of have a little bit more room than normal. I don't know. I think the surprise factor is pretty real. I think with the team dynamic, you can get pretty punished. You can get pretty demoralized by just outrageous stuff. So I'm hoping to see it. I don't think we'll see too much of it in this matchup, but so far just pretty solid Hearthstone.
Sounds good. Do we know the next players that we have coming up here on stream?
Well, I don't know if it was by accident, but we sequenced in seeing every single player so far. We kind of got a little bit of a sneak peek of what they were bringing. RDU is going to try Paladin again, and Six is going to try Hunter again. So we have 2 losers up against each other, and one will get their first point.
2 losers. Wow, Crip, shots fired. We have Hunter versus, well, what people perceive to be Face Hunter V2. But I guess the better way to describe it is
Isn't it just the same Face Hunter?
Yeah, well, I mean,
What
the
was
fact
different
is
about it?
Well, no, I meant the Paladin often functions as like another aggressive deck.
Oh, okay.
It's like if you want to bring a Conquest lineup that can really punish with aggro, you'd bring like Face Hunter, you'd bring sometimes maybe Mech Shaman or something, and then you always wonder like what's the third deck I can bring that's super face oriented. Paladin's one of those decks you can also bring.
Yeah. It didn't quite work its magic against the Freeze Mage of Firebat, but that was just a really weird game. Firebat played that so aggressively with like no cards, no backup, just completely all in on the Alistraza hitting face 3 times. But I mean, it did, so he took it. Very weird game. All right, here we go. Unleash the Hounds again. I mean, you were mentioning that it may be out of the cycle, but we've seen it drawn quite a few times already. So maybe there's in fact more than just the one.
Yeah, and it would be really useful against Paladin, especially with how many 1 health minions that they usually create.
Divine Shield minions, yeah.
Yeah, that also comes into play too. RD starts off with an Archon Squire, though, and that's going to immediately present problems because the Paladin is really good at controlling the state of the board, especially with, Knife Juggler, Muster for Battle, Consecration. Those things will really help control the state of the board. Who do you favor here? I feel like the Hunter ultimately just has the better hero power that lines up in terms of the racing. Even though the 1/1s do end up stacking up, they can be liabilities for Unleash the Hounds.
No, I just have to do the opening hands, and right now I think I prefer the Paladins.
Yeah, Muster's just insane if the opponent didn't have the explosive trap, but there's also the Blessing of Kings this turn too.
Yeah, the Blessing of Kings is alright. It stops 3 damage, but you still take a bit extra, and you can get owled. In fact, you're going to get owled. So yeah, the Consecrate is really the play that clears the board.
Yeah, but Consecrate on a board like that doesn't feel as powerful compared to, like, for example, if you play Muster for Battle and then they have Unleash the Hounds, but they somehow clear the board or something like that. It's really good as a way to make sure that it's a response to a card that you
I wonder
feel like
if Six goes face here. Okay, good. You're certainly quite eager to keep going face when you're playing that Hunter deck. But if you go face there, you get totally wrecked by Consecrate. I mean, you're never going to really push for another point of creature damage. That's a really bad spot to be in when your opponent's at 25, also playing an aggressive deck against you.
Yeah, and these small points of damage do end up making a difference here. If RDU ends up going face or ends up trading into this Iron Peak Owl, like these type of things ultimately might decide the outcome based off of the little bits of damage here.
I like the face hit there. You might be tempted to trade, but if you don't trade, you kind of push for more damage next turn. This is really a battle of, one player trying to be ahead of the other on the board to get that free damage in. I think Zixos might trade for that. I'd be surprised to see if he trades here, though. He does trade. Wow.
Oh. Wow, he really doesn't trust the Paladin to have anything on board. I mean, Paladin, a lot of their deck synergy is dependent on having a board. They have Blessing of Kings, they have Cog Hammers, they have Abusive Sergeants.
Yeah, I mean, I guess since you've started trading, I guess you might as well just finish it up there.
Yeah, this is really interesting that both these really super aggressive decks end up just going for board control here, so very early on. All right, so he picks up this Arcane Golem, ends up just going for a board clear and playing this Argent Squire, but now it's kind of like the race is again starting, or like the game is starting, and Hunter's way ahead in the health totals, and that's a really scary place because now you're going to have to play board control, and Hunter's free to go face.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you were like 7 points ahead, but with the Hunter having initiative with a Charger there, that does change it quite a bit.
Struggle is going to be so big if it hits the Wolf Rider. That allows him to get 4 damage to face more.
No, just 1.
Wouldn't you want to put the...
You don't have to buff the Divine Shield.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. It feels much better, though, because of things like Explosive Trap.
Exactly. It feels much better. That's true.
Yikes. How much damage is this? 6-8 next turn, plus the Hero Power and the Explosive Trap. That's 12. So RDU, he just needs to pick up or not RDU, sorry. 6-0 needs to pick up a Beast, or he just needs to pick up more burn and charge, and he basically just wins this game.
I like this a lot. It's going to be hard to play out everything next turn, and you basically guarantee the double draw with the quick shot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's not much you can do here.
Yeah.
You have to push for damage. You're at 9. So.
Normally, sometimes you can try to wait on the trap if you can go for the ultimate burst. If you feel like that 2 health might make the difference, but not in this case. You just have to get that damage with the Argent Squire.
Yeah. The other thing is, like, the draw for this Paladin deck really doesn't work. So even though you kind of made it work this game so far.
Oh,
that's it.
That's lethal.
That is lethal right there. Yeah,
right,
RDU not too happy. But yeah, it feels like the Paladin is disadvantaged just because of the draw. Like, this Paladin deck runs, of course, the Divine Favors that we saw, which again are not going to work against the Hunter. And some of them run Jeeves, but also that doesn't work against the Hunter either, because the Hunter's going to draw damage, and his can usually bypass the board if he's losing it. So, yeah, the more I think about it, the more I feel the Paladin gets punished in that. And we kind of saw that happen. We kind of saw RDU get a pretty damn good start, and it was just punish, 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 no draw. And in the attrition game, obviously the face Hunter is going to beat a face Paladin with no cards.
Yeah, but more importantly, the face Hunter is out of the way, and that only leaves room for so many more limited aggression that can come out here. Now that you analyze the decks, it seems like most of them will either be of like a tempo-based nature, where they try to be a little bit more aggressive towards the mid-game, or even late-game possibility. We haven't seen what these Warlock decks are. Maybe they could be Life Coach bringing Handlock, Firebat bringing Malygos, and those decks often go really far into the game, like turns 10 plus.
Yeah. One thing also to keep in mind is even though the score is tied up 2-2, this is kind of a spot where if you're RDU, you're feeling like the real pressure. I mean, you just cost your team all its losses so far. I mean, it's only 2 losses, but those are both from the Paladin, so it's quite unfortunate. And RDU is known to be a pretty emotional player, and I think in this team format that really like weighs a bigger weight than normal. So we might see some demoralized RDU the next time we see him.
Well, there's one thing about RDU is that he doesn't lose energy. He is kind of like that, main character in the anime that just like it's really loud and doesn't know when to shut up sometimes. Like when RDU, when he wins or loses, ends up talking for like 15 minutes straight and analyzing the game, the kind of player he is. So if there's anything for sure, I know that he's fired up even more to win and definitely looking to strike back. Yeah, I know for a fact. I've seen.
Okay. I've seen the opposite from him as well. I've kind of seen the defeatist mentality a few times.
You think so?
Yeah.
I feel like every time I've met RDU, it's like he'll talk to anybody willing to talk, or even willing to listen to him talk about Hearthstone, about his games, or the strategy, or the lineup, or the draws, or the RNG, or the outcome, or the plays. Like there's like so many topics for him to discuss. That's partially why people sometimes enjoy, a lot of his commentary, because he's very chatty and talkative about it. But enough about RDU. We have Life Coach coming up here against Zolay, Warlock versus Druid. And this is the second decks from both these players. We saw Life Coach bring the Warrior, the Patron Warrior. In fact, both these guys brought Patron Warrior. But not right now. Zolay's bringing the Druid here, and Life Coach introducing his Warlock, which... it is. I feel like it's an over 95% chance of being handlock.
I've actually never seen Life Coach play any other type of Warlock in a tournament format. Never. Not even
so
once.
You're going to go higher than 95%.
I'm hoping 100%. It's not, actually. I always hope for the fresh stuff. I hope for something new, something I haven't seen before. But come on. When you're playing for this much money, when you've played few decks as many times as Life Coach has, you're playing exactly those decks.
I think so. I'm just surprised that Life Coach just doesn't even consider anything else. Like when you ask him what's his favorite class, he says handlock. That's not even a class, Life Coach. That's a deck of a class.
It's basically a class.
Yeah, it kind of is, based off that no one else can really do the things that handlock does, based off its hero power. But specifically, that Life Coach doesn't even acknowledge that Warlock's his favorite class because he likes playing handlock. But that he immediately goes to handlocks, like not even the fact that he can play Zoo or anything else there.
Oh, it's a really good way to play the game. I mean, you can make it to tournaments when you play ladder, especially in like the new or mid part of a ladder season. Everybody is trying to rank up as quickly as they can with the aggressive decks, and handlock just does a pretty good job of being consistent against just about anything.
I like the way Life Coach said it. He says, if you're better than your opponent, you always should bring decks like handlock and control because you have a higher percentage chance to outskill them. Versus if you're better than your opponent and you bring aggressive decks, even if you're better than them, sometimes the draws lean it to be a 50-50 coin flip. And so Life Coach likes that extra edge of having that control style, being able to play slower. Sometimes it ends up punishing him, though, because he's a little bit greedy. Like his Paladin decks, like I remember watching a Vi game, and he did end up winning the tournament, but it was like, Kael Thazad and super late game oriented stuff. And I'm like, I thought we moved past this meta where we can get away playing KT and decks.
It's a cool card to see, though.
Yeah, sure.
It seems like we're experiencing some problems. We're actually seeing the rope burn without even seeing cards yet. True Life Coach fashion, I suppose.
It's the ghost of Life Coach.
Yeah, but it seems there are some spectator mode bugs that have occurred since the last few patches in Hearthstone, and we are seeing the consequence of that.
All right, now this Ancient of War heavily implies that this is more of a taunt druid. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's ramp, though. I mean, you did see the wild growth, and you do see the Ancient of Wars. And a lot of people might lean towards, oh, awesome, ramp druid. You start playing a lot of late-game threats. You have big taunt minions, plus the Ragnaros and Cenarius, etc. But we've also seen some middle-of-the-road druids that play these heavy taunts, but still have the Force of Nature Savage Roar, because if you find out that there's no threat of burst, and the druid has to win through board pressure alone, and you can get away with a lot of greedy plays.
Yeah, it's just a bit tough to sometimes fit that in.
Oh, for sure, because you want to try to get a bunch of good curve, and you also want to play cards like that really help you continue to ramp. You don't have to worry too much about card draw, though, because you're often playing only one threat at a time. So it's really interesting and dynamic. I mean, we've seen some ramp druids even go super greedy and play Faceless again. But I don't really think the Faceless Manipulator will be making an appearance today.
All right. Well, it's a life coach turn here. What do we do?
Well, you can't tap unless you want to give away the coin, because you'd be at over 10 cards the following turn. The normal convention logic is to drop the Ancient Watcher since it gets out on the board and you're not going to be using it much anyways. Plus, it might threaten Shadow
other
Flame.
Ancient Watcher with the Protector next turn.
Or maybe just like Protector and tap or something like that. It depends on how things go.
Well, you have to draw the other Ancient Watcher, of course.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Okay, some demon flavor. I like it.
Interesting. Ooh, Life Coach is not playing Mountain Giants, or is he? I don't think so.
I think you can play Demon Handlock and still include all the giants. Can you not?
I mean, you can. It's not impossible, but I do
bad
know
idea,
that
you
Void
think?
Caller. Yeah, it doesn't synergize nearly as well because Void Caller pulls cards out of the hand, and Mountain Giant tries to be played on curve, and there's a little bit of awkwardness in that. I remember Strifeco was experimenting a ton with this deck, and he eventually found success that you just had to take out the Mountain Giants, which I thought was really cool because it's like, well, people thought Mountain Giant was core to handlock. You tap and you play big minions, but
Drake
clearly not.
just ends up being a lot better because it's a safer play against BGH and a few other cards.
Wow. Okay. So Zalay rightfully, chooses to say, I don't want to pull out a demon from you. You can keep your demons. I don't want them, but there are no demons in the hand.
No, but it just works here. The thing is, if Life Coach doesn't pull a demon, Zenley's gonna know.
Yeah, it's true, right? There's no demons that you'd want to pull normally in a demon handlock that's bad in this scenario. Doomguard, Dread Infernals, Jiraxis, like all of them would be okay here, considering that you can pull them out, taunt them, and then have a really big board.
All right. Well, Sylvanas does some work. It's mostly the giants that are going to do the work, though, as Zalay doesn't have a good way to remove them, and Druid, if you don't have that BGH, it's just really hard to work around those 8/8 taunts.
Yeah, for sure. Drawing some cards because he might pick up the Savage Roar and end the game soon. Keep in mind that handlock's not exactly at the highest life count right now, but how much do you press in here? He also didn't attack with the Void card like you mentioned, Grip. So can he call that bluff and attack? It's going to be a hard read on Zalay's end.
It is a pretty hard read, but I think it's one that he's capable of making. I think just more often than not, there is no demon. So if you feel like you're favored to win, then maybe you won't do that. But if you feel like you're not favored to win, yeah.
And he makes the right call. Very nice. And I mean, it's not the most out of the world call, too. I think you broke it down very nicely here.
But it's really important that he makes it.
Now, there is a Shadow Flame play to steal the 1/2 slime, I believe, that comes out of the Belcher that you after you're done trading in. But I don't really know if I like that play as much as I like searching for other things to do. But the board is also really scary.
What if you attack Sylvanas into the 3/5 and then you Hellfire? And then you can tap and play both Molten Giants if you want. You'll be at 10 though.
Yeah, you might have to just drop Sun. No, you need the Sun Fury Protector to go into Molten Giants. But let me think about that play a little bit more. So you're going to be at 2 health, right? You only can play one Molten Giant.
No, if you tap, you can play both of them.
Oh, you're right. Because then it reduces to 10 health.
Yeah.
Okay. Your opponent's at 8 mana, so what's the most damage you can do? Double swipe? It's not going to kill you.
Okay. Puts up a taunt, 13 HP.
It's safe from Innervate combo.
Yep. One Innervate is down, and Life Coach doesn't know it, but this is... like, if Zally played the Ancient of War, Life Coach may have actually decided to drop a lot lower, thinking maybe he doesn't have to play around it much.
Yeah.
But we see 2 Force of Natures in Zellia's hand, so this is an interesting deck.
Do you want to play the big threat, which might get single removed, or would you play 2 threats, like the Pilot Shredder and Shade, which are generally a little bit stickier? And he did just use a Shadow Flame. It is susceptible to
Right.
Hellfire.
So no, with Shadow Flame gone, like I think the Ancient War is nice here, because with Shadow Flame gone, and you know it's a demon handlock. I mean, I don't even think there's Siphon Soul in that deck. Like really, the worst thing that's happening is it's getting silenced, and it's not like the worst thing ever because then he wouldn't silence the Watcher.
Yep. It's also true. Okay, now with the normal play on Dr. Boom, he does end up dying to a Force Nature Savage War, but he's actually safe if he plays it because Soleil doesn't have the killing damage, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And I think the play here is the tap Molten Sun Fury play.
Yeah, because even if you know your hand's still a little bit too risky here. So I like that play a lot.
So many.
And does that use up all 7 mana? That uses up 6, I believe,
No,
right?
6. So you could get maybe like... oh, look at that!
Oh, he does play.
Whoa!
Very nice call.
That was just...
Wait. So, we haven't seen a demon yet at all. What demons do you think he has in this deck?
I actually think we might see the Mountain Giant and the Taunt. It's more mana efficient. Yep.
Shields up.
You can keep those Moltens for bigger power plays later too, for sure.
What if you just put in like one Void Caller just to troll people?
Just to, well, not even troll, but to throw people off?
Yeah.
That would be really cool, and everyone would probably be like,
once.
oh my god, this is why Life Coach is the best.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's all it has to do, right?
Yeah.
Just work once.
I wonder.
More importantly, if Zalay lost to it, then he has to alert his team like, oh, hey, by the way, Life Coach plays Void Callers in his deck, so just be careful. No, there's no way. He has to at least have one demon in the deck. Like
Yeah,
Jirax's.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. A Wrath for 1. Okay, so
Okay.
I was anticipating a Wrath for 3 so he can kill the
Waits for
giant.
no one.
Well, this is interesting now. You only have 7 mana, so you can play a 4 and a 3.
Yep. You just start jumping down those taunts, I believe, and hope to get a nice combo in a turn or two.
Yep. Alright, so Hellfire deals with the board very well. But you go down to 8 health.
It's just pretty devastating.
Yeah.
But I think you kind of have to do that.
So
I think it has to be 2 small creatures into the 5/6 and you Hellfire.
It's unfortunate that he's not also able to play the Antique Heal bot and Hellfire this turn because he only has 8 mana. That would have been
Well, with this
perfect.
play, he'll be able to. And he can
Okay.
Hellfire next turn if he really wants.
That's true. Oh man, a
Wow.
Patient Assassin. Is that like one of the best cards you can get off the Shredder again?
I think that's okay though. Like with the Sun Fury draw, I think you're okay to Hellfire now. I think you have to Hellfire now.
Yeah, Hellfire and then double Molten.
Nope, he's just going for the Moltens.
Okay, Molten and then
Molten,
heal,
Molten.
Antique Heal bot.
Probably heal. Yeah.
That is a mighty fine board. But if he draws Savage Roar, I believe that's game anyways.
There it is.
Oh my gosh. Wait, hold on. I didn't
Is the
count.
game 5?
Um,
No, it's not. He's too short.
he's too short, right? Okay. Right, the hero power can't get through. Ah, it's really close.
Yeah.
But he can also like use Force of Nature #1 to help like get through these minions a little bit easier, and then kill off a Molten, and then set up a like Keeper of the Grove or something like that too. Although I think he'd rather. It's a little bit tough to say.
Time waits for no one.
Yeah, the funny thing is the Patient Assassin's really bad.
Well, I mean, it's useful in taking out a giant.
Yeah, but I think if he got a few other 2 drops, he could have won.
Yeah, he could have won the game, right? If it was 3 attack or higher.
Was it? No, because then it wouldn't fit as nicely.
Wait, actually, I don't think it matters, right? Because then he still needs to attack into a taunt either way. Mal'Ganis! Alright, so that's the obvious synergy, too, considering that you can pull out Mal'Ganis with the Void Caller.
Yeah, but is that good enough?
I mean, he might not need it. He's got so many ways to be defensive. He can play Sun Fury and Dr.
Fury-
Boom here.
Okay, but like you can't really taunt up much if you do that.
Yeah, you can't taunt Dr. Boom and the Molten Giant just because the Boom bots.
I feel like you're gonna want more cards in this game anyway, so I think you can tap Healbot and taunt up.
So many possibilities.
The Dr. Boom, though, is such a big play onto the board, though. Your opponent hasn't used a big game hunter, so maybe you're giving him... Like, you basically don't give him much room to breathe by doing this play here. It's a huge amount of damage. And in fact, this is threatening lethal next turn already.
Mm-hmm.
How much are we off?
Down there? Well,
Yeah,
one
we're off
naturalize would have done it.
One naturalize, you're correct. People haven't played that in so long, except Natural Remedies Druid deck.
Mm-hmm. Well, even if you had that, actually, you'd still have to take some not that great Boombot RNG against the Force of Nature board.
Oh, you're right. Is there an alternative at all to potentially survive here?
Yeah.
Ancient of War? But then if you have the Iron Beak Owl, then he just gets past it.
Yeah, but I think you're at that stage where it doesn't matter.
Drew the Claw allows him to play Harrison Jones as well. Oh, he's going to go for Keeper of the Grove and try to get past this, and hopefully he can combo next turn. It's also appropriate, too. If anything sticks, then he can... Oh, shot onto the Keeper.
Rip on that. Alright, how much damage can Life Coach push for here? There's certainly some lethal options with Ragnaros.
Wow.
That sucked.
Yeah, that was terrible.
God. That was like the worst thing imaginable.
I mean, he could always do the 50-50 rag lethal, but there's got to be a way to do it even better, right? What if you use Hellfire instead?
No, I don't think there is a better one. I think that's about as good as it gets. I think the only alternative you have is maybe to just slam down Mal'Ganis as well.
Yeah, I'd like that a lot too, is the guaranteed way to shut it down, because if he had Big Game Hunter, he still can't afford to combo and kill you, because you had 16.
Why did you iterate?
Almost out of time.
You'd have to have Big Game Hunter?
Combo
No, there's
edit.
no way.
Yeah. This is very unlikely. I think I'd actually just play it even safer then. I think I'd just kill that, and then, yeah, exactly.
Alright, well, Zalay doesn't really have a way to come back from here. I mean, Druid already has a hard enough time dealing with one big minion.
More taunts.
Yeah, not enough mana.
This is a cool deck. It's just like all the taunts and double combo, probably.
Mm-hmm.
They just stall the game until you can play combo. I can see how that would work against so many decks, but Handlock is not one of them.
It's probably a strong de-emphasis on the 5 drops that Druid usually has like a lot. Zalay ends up passing, so that's going to end the game here. So, really cool stuff from the Druid, like you're mentioning, but ends up being that Life Coach just had too much of a threat. And this is why traditionally in the past, Druid did struggle against Handlock in the sense that
I think
you can't
traditionally
really
Druid's
keep
like
up with
okay against Handlock, isn't it? Like
well, in the
get
very
that
beginning,
pretty good burst,
before people had like the combo threats, right? Because the Handlock just presented 2 big threats, and Druid couldn't deal with them effectively. And Druid never got in a position where they can really push for the lethal all the time. So
it's probably one of the few bad matchups if you think about it, because he's got combo and like so many taunts, but he still has the critical Druid cards.
Mm-hmm.
He might be cutting things like Big Game Hunter in that deck, right?
I don't know. I don't think they'd cut Big Game Hunter. I think he'd cut like Azure Drakes for sure. Probably cut some of the late game options that might people have like Sylvanas or whatnot, and try to go for just heavy taunts because he had Sunwalker in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a lot.
Interesting observation to note too that Life Coach is done, I believe, for the day. Right? He doesn't have any other decks to play, so he can log off and go spend time with the wife.
There's one player who's not done at all, and that's RDU. He's yet to put a win on the board, and he's tried twice now. So he still has a pretty decent climb to go, and he's going to have to get it. It's Conquest Team Battle. One weak point in your team, and you're not winning.
Well, he's not alone. Zalay has also tried and failed twice as well. One with the Warrior, one with the Druid.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
Yes. And more importantly, he's also revealed both of his decks and a lot of it too. He lost with the Druid, so there's a lot of full information on that Druid deck. So
yeah, but
that
also,
really helps.
like, already uses deck, like his second deck is Hunter. He's basically revealed it already.
True that. But now you know his opponent's like Ramp Druid plus Force of Nature, so it's like, that's more helpful than knowing like, oh well, he plays Kill Command, get out. Like you really expect that for Hunter.
Right. Well, there's going to be Tice versus Firebat. Both these players have won a game. Well, it might be the case where at the end it's just someone's going to have to win out of the people who've tried twice and haven't.
Yeah, that's right. By the way, I think it's really funny that the artist has used both Tice and RDU's pictures when they have the former team jerseys back when they were on MYM. Really interesting thing there. Tice, he comes in here with winning his Druid deck and Firebat winning his Freeze Mage, but they bring in that Rogue versus Warlock. And I know Firebat really loves being aggressive, so perhaps he'll bring the Zoo. That deck performed very well at DreamHack recently and became one of the keys to Tiller's success, as well as a bunch of other players. And Tice, I haven't seen him play Rogue in a while, but he's also a pretty formidable Rogue player back in the day.
Yeah, I think Tice is just generally well known for his Druid, though, which did pull out a win earlier. I feel like when I watch Tice, he plays all the classes pretty well, but it just feels like Druid is really fantastic to watch, just because you can see just how aggressive you can possibly play it, and it seems to work out for him so many times.
Yeah, he pushes the boundaries a lot, where sometimes you feel like, okay, maybe you can pull back a little bit. And that might be the case too, because Rogue functions almost in a similar way if you compare Preparation to Innervate, and you compare like the oil combinations with Blade Flurry to Savage Roar and Force of Nature. So this should be a very comfortable deck for Tice. In the meantime, Firebat also should be in a pretty good spot too. The big challenge with this Zoo deck oftentimes is you sometimes just draw really awkwardly because you do scale very well into the late game with Dr. Boom and Mal'Ganis. So if you draw that early on, you're crying. But Firebat seems to at least avoid that pitfall early on.
Well, no, he's got Mal'Ganis.
Well, I mean, he's got a curve with it, though. Like, he's not...
Yeah, kind of. It's not a very high-pressure curve. He's going to need a lot of help from his deck still.
Do you favor the Rogue in this matchup, traditionally?
Wow, that's really nice. I think the Blade Flurry is kind of put the Rogue ahead of most Zoo decks, but this isn't really most Zoo decks with Eggs, Imp Gang Bosses, and the Mal'Ganis option.
Yeah. It's definitely a slower approach, the mid-range version here.
Yeah, I think it's very close.
Huh.
I think
the
Rogue...
Egg over the...
I think Egg... Yeah, I think the Rogue probably still has the edge, though. I mean, you have Saps from Mal'Ganis, you have the Burst, you prevent the Warlock from tapping much. You just kind of have... Like, the Rogue, I feel like if you're going to lose against this, you're just going to lose against most decks. It's going to be a case where you just don't really draw any strong cards or combos.
Oh my gosh, Firebat has an insane opportunity if he can get Mal'Ganis off of his Void Caller. There is Violet Teacher available this turn, and Preparation is an excellent usually to pick up with it.
Yeah, Yeah, you can Vow Teacher prep Fan of Knives after attacking the Imp Gang boss. Maybe left with a 1/1 on the board, and you'll have 2 1/1s of your own.
And you draw a
But
card too.
yeah, but you'd waste your weapon with Blade Flurry in hand, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, what about Violet Teacher and pass?
Yeah, looks like he likes that.
You are a little sad about power overwhelming stuff. Oh my god. That's a little bit too hilarious.
Then coin out the Void Collar. This is gonna be a hard game for Firebat to lose.
I mean, don't discount the power of Blade Flurry. Not to mention that you can deal with Mal'Ganis pretty well too, if you just draw Sap, and then you can't really play it for a long time.
Yeah.
But
It's pretty bad though, like to use up a card and mana to deal with a Death Rattle. Feels like that's way too often the case these days.
yeah, you're right. I mean, Tice also could hypothetically put Firebat on a bluff turn too if you wanted to clear it. Like, say, I don't think you have demons, but there's a big chance that he does. Not even necessarily like Mal'Ganis, but Doomguard as well is a big problem for Rogue.
I think with this play, oh wow, look at that.
What,
Goblin Auto Barber. I like it.
underrated card for sure.
Not in Arena, that card is kick-ass in Arena.
Oh yeah, okay.
There
Sorry,
was
I was
Mal'Ganis.
considering constructed.
I was like, okay. Oh,
No, that's the worst outcome.
oh my god, that draw!
Mal'Ganis number 2. Can we do it?
Oh my god.
Rip, I believe. Oh,
That's like maybe even worse. This is 36 Mistress of Pain.
I think a second Mal'Ganis would also be pretty bad, considering that now it's not one but
Immediately.
2, and they buffed the other Mal'Ganis too to 11-9.
It's so insane.
This is
Firebat
game
is
over
just-
if he draws
it's
power
just-
overwhelming.
Drawn absurdly well.
Off the top, remember he had the Nerubian Egg and Haunted Creeper. That's game.
Oh no.
Oh
it's not.
no, forgot Lotheb.
That's basically game. Like, you can't stop you from power overwhelming the turn after. You got 26. Like, come on. How do you lose?
Yeah, the only way he can is if there's a Vanish in the deck and he'd survive for one more turn. But I don't think there's anything.
Happening. Sap's a good start, but it doesn't do it. You have to sap, you have to kill off a creature, and then heal bot. Okay, that doesn't.
Yeah, that keeps him alive for another turn, and there is sprint to refill the hand. But now the power overwhelming trades
Oh my
super well.
God.
Yeah, Doomguard's really good draw too. Do you want to just go for it, like power overwhelming and then Doomguard, and just push all to
Put
face?
him at 1.
Put him at 1.
Yeah, perhaps.
So many possibilities.
How does that backfire? If your opponent needs to have like specifically Blade Flurry number 2. I don't think it's necessary.
King boss. I feel like the juggler is really good here. So you get like those extra juggles from the death rattles going off.
He just wants something to stick onto the board though, because you realize he's so close that Doomguard should be the finisher.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Well, I guess
Guess sprint.
sprint or maybe
Yes.
fan, so that you have more mana options. If you fan and you pick up like Blade Flurry, does that allow you to clear the board? I want to say yes. No, you don't have enough to play the South Sea.
Yeah.
So he's going to operate as if he doesn't know his opponent has Doomguard. He can't afford to, but he's going to try to use Fan Knives here.
Choose soon.
He's going to leave the Nerubian so he can keep his Antique Healbot on the board. Completely reasonable. No matter what, there will be at least a 1/1 surviving onto the board, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that can be drawn here.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's gonna be it.
All right, so 9
Firebat
damage
gets the
exactly.
second point. Easy game. Tied up
Firebat,
3-3.
he's done for the day. He's done his part. Oh, wow, the BM overkill. Firebat has no manners.
Well, I mean, the other players are watching the games, I'm sure, and
Yeah.
they know that the knife juggler's there. I approve of this. I approve of the 1 extra damage play. Looks good
It was.
to me.
Maximum overkill is like second tier
Maximum overkill.
BM. The first, of course, is take as long as you can, time-wise. That's
I
how
don't know about
That's
that.
tier 1 BM. Well, I mean, you play as many cards as you can.
Yeah, I guess. Really draw out the game as much as possible. That's actually like kind of bad manners, I feel. We've seen that a few times though, but
Yeah.
All right, so looking at the bracket, Firebat to his name has 2 green check marks. RDU and Zele still looking for their first, while Sixo and Thijs are halfway there.
Pretty even though, right? This is 3-3. Both of the aces for the team, if you kind of picked one, have also gotten the job done. And so far, it's evened out with one player struggling a little bit, one player having middling results, and then another player that's already done here. So very even matchup so far, and pretty fitting for these two teams. Again, we were talking about at the very beginning of the day that it feels like it's very appropriate that both of these teams here are matching up in the very beginning, and it's been a very close series so far.
Yeah, I mean, we expected both these teams to do very well against each other. It seems like one player on each team is struggling a little bit, but I don't think that's really the fault of the player. It's just kind of how the cards come down sometimes. I am certainly more eager to see how the more recently developed teams will coordinate their strategy. And it looks like you'll get most of that fun to yourself tomorrow, but we'll see a lot of each of these guys as this is going to be a very long tournament.
All right, well, I guess we're going to find out to see if RDU or Zele can start climbing back here. Ultimately, let's take a look at these last 3 classes here. So we have Hunter, Paladin, Rogue versus Rogue, Druid, and Warrior. Mm-hmm. And now, can we target a single weak deck that might get exploited here at all? Do you think?
I feel like the Paladin might struggle against the Rogue. I feel like the Paladin might struggle against the Warrior.
Not necessarily against the Druid, though, right?
No.
Because outside of Swipe, Paladin's just really good at flooding the board here.
Well, maybe, actually, because that Druid deck has a crap load of taunts. Actually, that Paladin sucks against everything.
Unless it has a quality in the deck somewhere, right? I mean, what happens if it does?
Yeah.
Also, that Druid deck sometimes can be a victim of bad draws without Wild Growth, and then Paladin can just do too much damage and have a bunch of like 2 attack minions on board to get past your Sunwalker.
That's true. I feel like actually the Warrior matchup is probably the Paladin's best chance if you just get a really good start and the Warrior has to use combo pieces to stay alive. That often is a pretty effective strategy.
Let the hunt begin.
All right, well, Sixo looking to close out his day here with a win on his Hunter, or on his Rogue, excuse me. Already used the one on Hunter.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, looks fair. Do damage. Dr. Boom is a fun card. I'm guessing that's the Hunter's hand.
Yeah, and we haven't seen Artie's Hunter yet, so that Dr. Boom already tells us that it's not Face Hunter. It's going to be the mid-range Hunter at the very least, maybe even hybrid, but I'm leaning towards the mid-range. And mid-range has continued to increase its presence on the ladders these days, considering that it's just very robust and flexible. It doesn't have the card draw of the mid-range Hunter of last year's deck that reigned the terror over the entire metagame. But generally speaking, mid-range Hunter is still a very big threat every single game.
I feel like right after GVG, like immediately people realized how strong Dr. Boom was. They put him in every deck, and that actually included Face Hunter.
Yeah, it was like top out at Wolf Rider, Arcane Golem, and then Dr. Boom.
Dr. Boom, yeah.
No. That's like the one deck that the guy won in video with, where he had the super aggressive Zoo. He had like 2 powers, 2 Dark Bombs, 2 Soulfires, and then he topped out at like Wolf Rider, Arcane Golem, and Zoo, and then he had Mal'Ganis.
Okay.
It was like the weirdest, funny thing. Maybe he had Void Caller.
Yeah, if you do that with Void Callers, that seems pretty reasonable. Without, though, it seems kind of bad.
Well, he won the thing, so
Mm-hmm.
not really hard to argue with results. Two
Well, it's
weapons here.
Hearthstone. I think sometimes you can argue with the results actually.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
like one result, like you can't argue like you know. Yeah, I think Six was just not a very good player. You can't say that because he's just done well over time. But I think when it comes to like one showing, you can actually argue with the results when it comes to Hearthstone.
yeah,
You can defy the
hard
odds.
games in general.
Yeah.
So Rogue takes the board, and you don't have a way to kill off the Violet Teacher. That's a really scary point to be at, because now Violet Teacher's 1/1s are just so good at dealing with Hunter in general because it adds the extra damage, it pops the freezing traps. You know, it's really good at taking out some of the damage or adding damage in. Well, okay, what's available here? I mean, ideally you want to keep Sap for the high main, but it's also really good here.
I am ready to learn.
Okay. He goes with the sap. Let me see if I can change mics here. This might be a disaster. Give me a second.
All right. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and hold it. The reason why I said the sap was interesting to keep, because he could have dealt with the Pilot Shredder also with, you know, Gelb and Auto Barber and putting other minions onto the board. SI7 agent should be able to kill out, generally speaking, whatever comes out of the Shredder. But instead, he opts to go for, you know, a little bit more board levity here. Getting his own Loatheb to counter his opponent's Loatheb, and he's also racing. So as much as his opponent can slam high main down with the knowledge that his opponent doesn't have sap, now this is still a lot of pressure looking at the opposite direction. A simple oil play means he dies.
How am I doing here? You can hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you all right, Crip, but I feel a little weird that you asking me how I'm doing.
Is it like a different Crip now that you're talking to?
It is.
Okay.
It's a little bit more sultry. I like it.
More sultry. Okay.
3, 4, 8, 11 damage. 602 damage off lethal here. Assassin's Blade. Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah. I've seen that a little bit. It does. It's more of a traditional like rogue card. It produces some like colossal blade flurries in some cases, and it's pretty interesting to see. So I'm kind of glad it's here, but it looks like he's going to win this game, so we're probably not seeing much of it.
Yeah, I guess it just dies here, unless.
Whoa! Hello.
Wait, unless.
No. Not good enough.
No, he kills him in the hand though. There's no way.
Yeah, he has to. He has to get a Misha to stay alive.
You're right. Because it blocks the dagger damage.
Okay. Well, he's going for it. Good stuff. Nope.
No?
And I don't think
How much
that's
damage
good enough.
That's 10, 17. 17 damage is still pretty crazy for 7
it is.
mana. 6 mana.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly.
Well, he's doing his best to stay alive, but it will not be good enough.
But more importantly, this is the 3rd loss for RDU?
Yeah. He's responsible for all but one of the losses.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's definitely tough to swallow here.
Yeah, I'm not saying that as if it's his fault, but he is responsible for them. I mean,
yeah, it was his games ultimately.
Yeah, it was his games ultimately. But I think he's had good decks. I think he's played quite well. No complaints. In fact, I think he got a bit unlucky in some of the matchups, and well, the real highlight for me was the opening game against Firebat with the Freeze Mage. Just like such a weird game where like the Freeze Mage was burning him down.
Yeah.
Like, how often does that happen?
It was like being the aggro in the sense that dumping his whole hand and top decking to try to win.
Yeah. All right. Well, it is Conquest, and Zele has also failed to produce a win, so we'll have to see. Everyone has to win on one team for the team to come out victorious.
Dog tweets that he's excited to play in a few hours. Him, Kibler, and Trump will be up against Cloud9. That's right, Team Valuetown is playing later today, guys. And make sure to hashtag ATLC. He's also pretty accurate that it's probably in a few hours because these best of 11s do take a while. It's almost hour 2 finished here. But, going ahead and analyzing what just happened here, I think in the bigger scheme of things, Rogue is the strongest deck comparatively against each other's lineups here. I think Tice has a really good shot for this Rogue to also take out whatever comes out. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Tice being sent out here. And then RDU can just kind of focus on turning it around up against Zelay, who might end up not winning a single game too. I think it'd be really interesting if like one player just ends up losing and never having a game won.
Yeah, I feel like
funny.
though the Rogue won't do particularly well. It's not bad, but it won't do particularly well against what Zele has.
You think so?
Yeah,
I like Rogue's chances against it personally.
Okay, it's a non-standard Druid, and the other one's a Grim Patron deck. There's nothing that does that well against Grim Patron. I mean, not really, especially not one played by Zele.
That's true.
I think the big issue here, because it is Conquest and all these decks have to win. I think the one deck that's going to really struggle is going to be the Paladin.
Let's see.
It has to match up against the Druid.
I feel like, that's
no,
true.
yeah, the Grim Patron. The Grim Patron is probably the best chance that it has. It
I feel
has
like
an
the Hunter might
excellent
actually
start
have
against the
problems
Grim
too.
Patron. Yeah, the Hunter's not great, but I feel like Hunter versus Grim Patron Warrior is close to 50-50.
Yeah. A lot of people actually split their opinions on whether or not Patron's good against mid-range. A lot of the top Patron players think it's okay, but some people also think it struggles against mid-range.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the battle of... somebody's going to get their first win here between Zelay and RDU.
Yeah, and it is going to be the bench rule if RDU loses here, because he is returning to the table after a loss. So if he gets another loss, he will force out Tice to play. And with Tice playing, Zele will know exactly what deck he's up against.
Oh, that's good.
Actually, no, he'll be on his last deck if he wins, so it won't matter at all.
But you're also right, too.
In some
He would
situations, it might matter.
Yeah, but your statements are all correct. He would know what Tice is playing. It just doesn't have an impact.
Yeah, it doesn't have an impact. But in some cases, it might, I feel. Like, if you're in this situation in the future in this tournament, it can be like a really big edge to where you have to bench a player who hasn't won into the last remaining deck. And if you have more options than just one player, you might be able to switch around and deliberately target that deck. So the bench rule can actually be quite punishing for the team that benches its player.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen here for Team Nihilum, if you're a fan of them. Because RDU is on a losing streak here. And, well, he's got his Hunter deck up against the Patron Warrior, but this Patron Warrior seems better equipped to deal with decks like Hunter because he's got unstable ghouls. I wonder if he even runs Gromosh, because we haven't seen him draw it yet, and then he said he's offered to create more whirlwind effects, more board stabilization, and less burst from the hand.
Well, RDU might be feeling the pressure a little bit. His head's looking a bit heavy.
His head, yeah, he does that a lot when he's stressed, and because he knows also his go-to gamer ranking points are in jeopardy right now.
Uh-oh.
He's tanking.
All right, well, what do you do here? Do you coin out the ghoul? No, you don't, I guess.
I mean, I think the
Ghoul
coin
looks
is
pretty
really
nice against
valuable.
it. Yeah, that's true.
Because you have 2-3, and then on turn 4 you can coin out the
Well, the ghoul just
Grim
does nicely
Patrons.
against this anyway. Like, actually, it might kill both of those creatures. As it stands, it will kill both of those creatures.
Yeah, unless the knife juggle can hit the...
If there's no creature to
unstable-
play right now.
Yeah, you got quick shot though, at least.
I think that's good enough. You have to end the turn with something on the board, so it really doesn't give you an option here. You have to quick shot.
Yeah, not to mention that you still put the same kind of pressure. Knife Juggler is still a threat, and if he has a weapon, he's taking double damage.
Okay. Oh, I guess you enrage and play down what you can. Well, no, actually, you can Warsong Commander, because if the Hunter had a bow, he would have played that over the quick shot. So without a bow, it might pull like a kill command or another quick shot. So I think the Warsong Commander, the Warsong Commander, even though it's almost always a terrible card to throw on the board, I think in this specific case it might work out quite well.
What does it allow you to do next turn, though, that you would really benefit off of? There's really nothing that Warsong, I guess, other than the Grim Patron coming out here, but charging into the Pilot Shredder, not really that great.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
Wow, well, this is really bad for Zolay, in the sense that he can't kill off the Shredder guaranteed, and it's a lot of damage, and it's only going to get worse. Like, Pilot Shredder is just the beginning of the cleanup portion of the batting lineup here. We've got, you know, the Lotheb into the high main, into if you deal with the high main into
really,
Houndmaster.
really nasty. It feels like you might have to draw here. So if you draw, do you Armorsmith?
What would you want to draw? I guess a weapon, and if it's too expensive,
an execute or a weapon.
You know. If you drop the Armorsmith and you don't draw anything, then the Armorsmith dies for free too.
Yeah, that's really bad.
So it's a gamble. You can also just attack the face and try to just hope for the best.
Thing is, now we're gonna see like an execute top deck after getting Lotheb.
Oh, you're right. You're so right. That's exactly what happens every single time.
Every time. All right. Well, RDU, his head is getting lighter here. He only has to hold it up with, you know, the mouth hold there. Oh no, it's heavy again.
No. It's the heaviest at the top too. He always holds the forehead. Just gotta keep that balance.
He does look pretty demoralized, I have to say. But
no, it's his game face, man. He's in a really comfortable spot.
He is actually in this game. He is, but I think after dropping 3 games and not getting any points on your board, it's pretty nasty.
Well, not as nasty as dropping this Lotheb against a deck that benefits so much off of spells. This is...
And has the coin left in hand.
Yeah, this is not good. Well, coin's not really going to do much anyways this turn. I guess unless you want to charge the Frothing Berserker. At least he would have been able to benefit off of things like Battle Rage to draw if he needed to, but now he can't do that either. Would you play a Grim Patron and just attack face so that way you can try to draw some pressure off it?
That is pretty nasty. But yeah, I guess, I mean, I don't see any other option here.
The Frothing Berserker is really valuable because that might help you keep up into the race later game. And you also have a second patron. And most likely you're not going to be able to play both of them.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I think it's just going to be such a hard game to play both patrons.
Okay, so he wants to go for a Frothing Berserker to challenge the board.
Okay.
Well, the party is set. I mean, he's got the invites ready, but the Grim Patron here is going to take a while for him to get there.
Doomsayer? Nope, no Doomsayer. Sorry.
Cool Taskmaster. Using Warriors cards against himself as well.
That's so much pressure.
13 damage.
I think this is almost impossible at this stage.
He has a Battle Rage in hand and a Whirlwind, but that doesn't really give him many options.
Doesn't
He
do
would have
anything.
to draw both executes. No, he doesn't have enough mana to do that.
Would you Warsong Commander into Warsong Commander and kill the 2/2?
Well, I was thinking Grim Patron Whirlwind here, but I don't know. Well, that's not really anything here. You might even die too on the backswing if he has 2 kill commands.
Pass me that arc light splatter.
Well, how much damage does he have? He's got 11, 13, plus 6. Got 19. Oh. Almost.
Kill command is almost lethal.
Well,
Or is it lethal?
it's a 10 mana lethal.
Yeah.
It's chat legal, basically.
Well, then it's lethal.
Yeah, it depends how you look at it.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think you would necessarily even mind playing like the abusive sergeant here, but
Seems good to me.
you know, I mean, most likely something will stick on board. Whoa, that'd be BM. The abusive sergeant, the gnomish inventor, and just attack anyways.
Okay.
Is there any way? I really don't think so. Even if he had execute, he doesn't have enough to bring out the Grim Patrons, which would have been great for with the whirlwind effect. So Zolay ends up tapping out here. We're going to game 9, tied once again. It's always been
It's always like
game
1 point away. Exactly.
Yeah.
A very, very slight edge to one team after every round. And yeah, I mean, this is kind of what we expected. At this stage, it's still anyone's game. I mean, either team needs to get 2 more points on the board. Well, the Warrior's still in it, so the Paladin deck still got a chance, I feel.
Yeah, what happened to Grim Patron Warrior? People touted this as the best deck on ladder, and if you're the best deck on ladder, you're one of the best decks in Conquest.
I just feel like if the Warrior won that one, like what would the Paladin beat?
That's true. That's also a good point. The Paladin, well, it has to beat the Druid.
Yeah, and it would need, like, it needed to be 3-1 basically at that stage.
Yeah, for sure.
The RDU needed to win that one.
There's also no bench rule for Zolay anymore, right? Because you can't bench him. He's the only player remaining. It's like you bench him and then Sixo has to come play the deck for you.
Mm-hmm.
Which at this stage, Sixo might want to, because it's just kind of frustrating if you're an Archon fan and you're watching Zolay losing his 3rd game in a row. Yeah.
Is it in a row? I thought I lost one a bit earlier.
Well, Zolay hasn't won a game.
Yeah, it's
so
0-3. Yeah, Zolay right now is the big loser of the tournament so far. RDU is 1-3. Zolay has yet to put a point on the board, but I mean, he's played quite well. He's I think his Druid deck is really cool. I think it'll work, and Patron Warrior always works. So I'd be surprised if he doesn't at least get 1 point.
I like sending Tice out here right now. I want to give the Paladin as many chances to win as possible.
Yeah.
And you need to get the win out here too. I guess it doesn't really truly matter, but personally, I would like to see it be mixed up. Also, because I think I still think Rogue's a pretty decent shot against both these decks here.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to get the win.
All right. Well, they're probably deciding on who to send up first here. You like the Rogue.
Yeah, the reason why I think Rogue is good against Druid is because against Ramp Druid, if you leverage Sap ever, you just straight up win sometimes because they can't recover from that kind of tempo. The only way they can is if you Sap and there's a position where you don't do anything, like if you have nothing on board, and they just play another big threat.
Yeah, the Sap sometimes fails, but it's usually in a ladder situation where you like Sap and Druid of the Claw, and it just so happens they have an Ancient of War to follow. But in this case, where you know that Ancient of War might already follow and you save the Sap for it, it is a much more potent card.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also really like the Rogue's chances for just setting up a big Blade Flurry, because unless the Harrison Jones already has not been played yet, you can always just keep it there. And then Druid struggles from building like a big board because you can just threaten Blade Flurry. The biggest health minions are Ancient of Wars, but even then, you can... They take a while to get out, and you can deal with them pretty easily.
Yeah. All right, well, Zilly, Never Lucky Rubber Ducky versus Tice coming up here.
Is that what it is?
Probably. I don't know. That's the only Rubber Ducky I'm familiar with, and I'm quite familiar with that one.
Please, Crypt. This is not your stream. This is the Archon Team League stream. We can save this all for later. Okay. In the meantime, it's like you said, this is like a point where Zolay also has gotten a little bit unlucky based off his draws, based off the way things have sequenced. And Tice can continue that momentum here. But more importantly, Zolay needs to win here. Otherwise, he has a hard time cornering that Paladin deck.
Yeah.
All right, we're taking a second here to get underway. Rogue also wants to start on the coin, so does the Warrior, because they get more cards to benefit off of it. Usually, sometimes you have an opportunity to go first and pressure before your opponent, but in this case, I think both of them will be searching for the coin pretty aggressively.
Yeah, that's true. The coin is such a valuable card in the decks that use multiple card combinations to pull a win. And so not important when you're playing like Zoo, when you just want to go first and slam a one drop.
Well, it's not necessarily even too bad sometimes if you go in the Zoo Mirror. Back in the day when you played Zoo Mirror, it was heavily dependent on drawing Soulfire, so getting the coin gives you another card to draw Soulfire and gain tempo.
Yeah, the turn one go first, Flame Imp into second player, Flame Imp,
Soulfire.
and Soulfire.
Yeah.
There's no hand.
Yep. And then just draw perfectly from that point on.
Well, Zella is the recipient of the coin. We can't quite see Tice's hand yet, but... Oh, here we go.
Yeah, and I feel like Rogue is still okay to bet. Like, usually it's pretty bad that you don't get the coin, but with the Patron Warrior, you really need to get more cards to draw more cards. At least Rogue still has minions to play as, like, threats, Violet Teachers, Azure Drakes, SI7s.
I think with Warrior, you just want to hold stuff.
Yeah.
Like, this will be so much better later. Oh, all these will be so much better later. And then sometimes there is no later.
Exactly. Well, do you cycle this Thanos and just put it out there onto the board? Turn 3 is an Acolyte turn, but most likely your opponent will want to not let Thanos survive, because then Backstab becomes 3 damage and a lot of things become threat.
Well, if you keep the Thanos for the Blade Flurry, you'll eventually one-shot the Armor Smith, which isn't too bad.
That's true. I mean,
It's
if you're worried about
you don't really
one-shotting,
do anything until then. That's kind of the issue.
You can also just attack the Armor Smith right now, too, if you want to.
That seems reasonable.
No?
He wants
He's a
to
gentleman?
trap play it.
There's no way to treat a lady. You don't attack her.
Acolyte's a very nice draw, but he doesn't have to do that. The Frothing might set up a much bigger threat. I actually kind of like the Frothing.
The thing about the Frothing, though, is that against Rogue, a class doesn't generally heal much. Frothing is like a really powerful key to just end the game, because you can't really rely upon Grim Patrons as much, since Rogue always threatens Blade Flurry. So if you can't rely on Grim Patron, your other win condition as the Patron Warrior is Frothing. So I'm okay with him keeping it here. Acolyte Plus draws more cards, and ultimately you need card draw because you have Emperor Thorson in hand. And Emperor Thorson works better with more cards. This might be shocking to any new Hearthstone player, but you want to draw as much as you can before you play Emperor Thorson.
Loot Hoarder is a nice draw here.
Yeah.
I feel like you play Loot Hoarder. So weapon up or armor up.
Yeah, there's a case to be made where you can use weapons to hit the face with Patron Warrior against a lot of decks. Fiery War Axe, though, definitely has more use against Rogue than other classes, though, because there's so many 3 health minions with the SI7 agents, the Farseers, the Heaglebot. Even having Slam, too, is useful with the Fiery War Axe, because you can take care of pretty much any minion. So I wouldn't mind if you just play Loot Hoarder, equip the axe, and passed. That'd also be appropriate.
I think I like that.
I mean, he could also just armor up if he wants to play that passive too. But the thing about armoring up is that you also want to lower your health a little bit for things like Battle Rage. And you don't want to get too high health with armoring up, because then you can't draw off Battle Rage. Yeah. It's tricky.
Oh, they can Blade Flurry this, but that seems like a waste.
Yeah, Blade Flurry is your key to surviving. Oh, he also has the Assassin's Blade, too.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of a running thing. I think it's playing exactly the same.
I mean, I'll admit,
played Rogue.
Yeah, I haven't played much Oil Rogue on ladder recently. I've been playing a lot of fun stuff like Echo Giant's Mage and other weird stuff to
It was Sixo that was playing Rogue, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Sixo, the one that also had the Assassin's Blade. And I'm not sure if it's standard.
I believe they also had. I believe they both had the Goblin Auto Barber now, and which would make sense.
It could be, and that in fact, if that's the case, then there has to be a standardized list that I'm just not aware of at the moment. That may be like some really popular rogue players like Super JJ or Dog are playing at the moment.
Yeah,
it makes sense. Okay,
Oh,
well,
two
I think
Frothings
this
now.
might be okay to develop the Fire War Axe, but also the Frothing Berserker, like you mentioned. Because then he's going to spend his entire turn removing the Frothing Berserker, and then you can play the Emperor Thorson. You also can set up a weapon, though, and answer whatever he comes out, and then play Emperor Thorson there, too.
Well, the weapon's pretty nice. I feel like Frothing Berserker here is about as good as it was earlier, and he didn't play it earlier. I understand why, but I feel this play is consistent with how he's been playing so far in the match.
How do you like setting up Assassin's Blade now? Just start whacking. Is that too ambitious? Too slow?
Seems fine to me. Man, your other alternatives are kind of bad.
Because the weapon answers everything, unfortunately, with the Loot Hoarder.
I mean, what other play do you have? Like, prep SI7 or something? I don't know.
God.
Or just
What do
weapon
you even use
up
the prep
SI7.
on?
Not take 2 damage.
Yeah, I suppose so. Sap's not even that great against this deck, other than dealing with, like, something that's really awkward, like, if you don't want to give your opponent cards on an Acolyte, or you don't want them to gain armor. But Sap's not really that great against Patron. Alright, so I guess you just play the Emperor Thorson here. This card quality
Seems
to reduce
clear.
your cost is great.
Yep. You don't quite have 7 because the coin doesn't really count, but 6 cards is pretty good.
But the coin will only cost 4 when you drop Lotheb. So
Yeah. Whoa. Just
next turn you
5
can
more
coin-
turns and it's actually useful.
Next turn you can coin out a Grim Patron. He picks up an oil, so that's major damage with the Blade Flurry.
Well, how much can you play here? I feel
Would
like
you
if you play the oil, you want to play a creature, but the cheapest creature is 3, so you have to do... The prep oil is 4 mana.
I wonder.
So, yeah, you could do it. You could do prep SI face, play the oil, go face, and Blade Flurry.
This guy's toast.
Oh, this is cute too, like forcing him to attack into the SI with a lot of damage. I like that.
It pushes for 1 extra weapon hit, and it's pretty good when it's 6 damage.
Yeah, it's excellent. In fact, that's 18 damage just in this Assassin's Blade alone. And he's threatening 12 next turn. In fact, if he takes the damage here... Oh, that's nice to execute. But if he took that damage, that would have been lethal. So this is a really cool move from Tice. And because Emperor Thorson is slow in the sense that it costs 6 out of 7 mana, you're not too worried about him playing it too, because most likely you just end up passing. In this scenario, though, Zalay can play Emperor Thorson and clear. He also has...
He has some kind
like
of charge combo
of
potential,
damage.
doesn't he?
Huh?
He has some charge combo potential.
Yeah, let's go ahead and count that too. The War Song plus the 2 Frothings and Whirlwind is 4, 7 plus the 4 minions on board times 2. So that's 8. That's 15 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lead me thirsty.
But he gets the execute.
Lead me thirsty.
That's the nice thing too.
Yep.
So Blade Flurry almost certainly will come out here. And Zalay
It'll
will
really
put his
slow down the
opponent down
warrior.
to 8, right?
No. It's a 6 damage weapon, so it'd be 10, wouldn't it?
Oh no, I was saying he puts Zalay down, or he puts Tice down.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I misspoke. I was confused.
Oh, no, it is 8. Look at that. You're right.
That's right. What I say must come true. Thank you, Blizzard.
No, that's going to be the Lotheb.
It makes the most sense given that the Lotheb was shut down spells, and his opponent did play Thorson earlier.
Yeah, you want to shut down spells and then heal. It's stronger than healing, then taking a lot of damage, than playing a Loatheb on nothing. Plus the added board development. Very nice.
Yes, sir.
I think I like the Ghoul Grim Patron Acolyte here.
Yeah, that utilizes 8 of your mana, and Emperor Thorson doesn't really do much power here, other than the fact that it's a 5/5 body, and your opponent just used a Blade Flurry, and he also used his weapon buff, so it's not like he has a lot of options to deal with Grim Patron. He would have to have a second Sap, followed by
Which he does.
Eviscerate for you to die. What's scary is that if he does end up doing this play, the Grim Patron plus the Acolyte hidden behind the Unstable Ghoul, Tice only needs 2 more points of damage for it to be lethal.
Yeah, Zele won't have lethal here, but he can draw to a lot of options.
Yes. Not to mention he might kill his opponent too, if he can't deal with it. Like, Deathbite might just be it. Oh, he ends up just holding back, so that way he can stay alive. And that's the right call, right? Because I don't know, I think he's still dead.
No, I think he's still dead.
Okay. Well,
6 dagger. Yes, that is exact lethal with exact mana.
well, that's it then. And Tice is out of this this round because he's ended up winning with both of his decks, and that means Zelay will have to take out this Paladin deck, and Nihilum's up 5-4.
I believe Tice can stick around, right? He's just lost the one. They have the choice of whether they want the rogue or the paladin to match up against the druid.
Look, the rogue won though, so the rogue's eliminated here, which means that only paladin remains for Nihilum, and Zelay.
Oh, right.
Zelay has still yet to win his first game. He's 0-4.
And I'm sleepy today. Sorry.
No worries, man.
Yeah, slow day.
That's what I'm here for. Crip's having a lot of fun, guys, casting this match. It's really close, though. This is like really insanely close, and it's actually starting to get a little bit like beyond the joke that Zelay hasn't won. It's like this is actually really scary for Archon fans because now you get 2 chances for this Paladin, which if it draws like super well and perfectly, it's an aggro deck. It has a 50-50 chance of winning just straight up based off the way things sequence. And fall into
I
place.
feel the chances are probably a bit better against the warrior. I feel they're not great in either case, but still close to the 50. It's just I think you're a little bit unfavored in both of these. I think generally against Druid you're supposed to do extremely well, but it's got so many taunts, and I feel that kind of matters.
I think so too, but I mean it is scary because at the same time, RDU, we still don't know what his deck contains in terms of all of its tech cards versus Zelay. I feel like we've seen almost everything we've needed to see. There's nothing else that would really surprise us outside of like a Deathwing in the Druid or something like that.
Yeah,
no one would do something like that.
Has no chance. No, nobody will do that anymore.
Okay. Well, Rubber Ducky, one more time sent up here. Archon on the verge of losing their first game in the Archon Team League Championship. So
Nihilum is on match point on the back of his Paladin deck. You think he's going to take this one?
Right now?
Like right now? It's Paladin versus Warrior.
Yeah, I actually think so. I think Aggro Paladin is pretty good against
He's the better
Warrior.
of the 2 matchups, at least.
Like, if you look at matchups that are good against Patron, there's not many that are, like, favorable in a considerable margin. But if you look at decks that are, like, pretty okay against it, this deck puts just enough pressure in the same way that any other deck that puts pressure on combo decks makes them crumble. And he's curved out well. He's got the coin, which is also pretty good, too, considering that he can put doubled 1-drops. Maybe not necessarily Abusive Sergeant, though.
I feel the coin is mostly good just because you deny the Warrior from having the coin.
Yeah, that's also an important factor, too.
I think in general it's better just go first when you have a lot of 1-drops.
Well, double 1-drop here is pretty awesome.
Well, we've seen the YOLO Knife Juggler and hope you don't get Fiery War Axe play a few times now. So we might just see that again.
That's true. If he doesn't get answered, it's a lot more damage that way. You get You get 4 more damage, I think, because you're able to get the plus attack from the Knife Juggler plus the juggles itself. But the thing though is that it does get answered by Unstable Ghoul. Both these things actually get answered by Unstable Ghoul.
No, I think like you already saw the Warriors deck. You know he has Armorsmith and Unstable Ghoul. So I think if you play the Knife Juggler only gets countered like directly by the Axe, while the other two get countered by Armorsmith and the Ghoul. So I think I like the Knife Juggler a little better.
All right, well, this is still a pretty good anti-aggro start for Zalay. He's got lots of ways to pick off small health minions. Okay. So now he feels comfortable at least dropping Knife Juggler here.
Yep.
Unfortunately for RDU, the coin wasn't converted into any damage, really, but at least one Unstable Ghoul is out of the way, and now he really hopes that he can't deal with Knife Juggler, which he can't.
Armor made.
It's not the worst thing ever. Drop the Armorsmith, gain some armor. I think with this type of Paladin deck, you just play on curve and hope for the best. So I think the only decision here is whether you want to attack on the Armorsmith or not, and I think you do. And I think you do attack first before you muster to get the full juggle effects.
I wonder.
Yeah, the worst case scenario is like if you juggle twice into it and you wasted damage.
That's why you'd want to attack first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I'm saying
you
if
attack
you
first,
win
then
the other
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Because if it hit once, you're okay.
It's okay.
If it hits 3 times, you're okay. But twice is like the
Yeah.
really bad point.
3 times would be amazing.
Ha! That'd be so sick. I mean, at the same time, your opponent, you're just hoping that he doesn't have Whirlwind, but you still get 3 damage here, too. To the face guaranteed. Because if it kills Armorsmith, you still have the weapon hit, too.
Yeah.
Reporting for duty.
Alright.
Okay, well, Zalay needs to get more than just his Inner Rage, because there's still a lot of 1/1s pecking away.
Well, I think that's all he's going to get. He has the option to Battle Rage for 1 card, but... I mean, this is kind of like what we were talking about, like where the draw doesn't start and the deck just kind of crumbles, where you have to use cards to stay in the game that you'd otherwise really want to save.
Yeah, I think the Slam is really valuable because Divine Shield is pretty important to RDU's deck in terms of making sure to maximize damage and board presence. So I think keeping on to that is really good. And like you said, putting at that Loot Hoarder is important for the draw. Well, there we go. Like you said, curving out well and being able to use out all your mana utilization is really huge here. But the important thing is that there's still no Whirlwind effect. RDU knows that would have been the turn for Whirlwind. He doesn't have it, so not that it would change the outcome of his plays, but he has a pretty good tell on what Zalay has and doesn't have here.
Well, has... Okay! Look at that.
Not bad.
I think you'd even clear out the Archon, because this just kind of sucks.
Yeah. But this would definitely be pretty crushing.
Well, I guess you could play the 2/4.
No much of a challenges the board very well.
Pass me that arc light spanner.
Not bad either. The Acolyte's just okay to draw, especially with you have the Warsong Commander next turn.
Reporting for duty.
At this point, RDU is just left to try and hope that he draws either really big damage, or he gets Divine Favor and his opponent managed to draw a lot more cards than he has.
Warsong Commander again. This is like okay stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
unfortunately...
with two Warsongs, you can burn the Acolyte, which I think is fine. I think that's pretty decent, actually.
What
The other play is to slam down the Juggler and Battle Rage.
That might be okay. Battle Rage gives you 2 chances to pick up Fiery War Axe and help clean up this board a little bit. Acolyte's more of the guarantee, though, and it gives you board presence. Especially since there's 2 minions.
Yeah.
Muster
again.
number 2.
Doesn't help much. I guess he's got to consecrate, and then you're pushing for damage with 1/1s and giving him cards. You can't feel good about that, but Zalay is still not in the best spot. He's still behind on the board, and he still doesn't have an answer right now.
But Zalay's hand's a little awkward too. It's got, oh man, got
Another-
more ways to draw and the Warsong Commander.
Reporting for duty.
So now it really is Divine Favor or bust for RDU, I think.
Yeah. Cool. Not bad.
Yeah, Unstable Cool can... Do you think you can legitimately hide it behind something? What if he draws the Ironbeak Owl? If you hide, like, Acolyte behind it. I don't think it's necessarily bad to even play one Warsong Commander and charge an Acolyte here. Because the thing is you
more
have
draw.
a second Warsong Commander and you get more draw and
Yeah.
board presence.
And really, if your opponent had Divine Favor, he would have played it last turn.
Charge forward.
Okay. Unstable Cool sets up a better Battle Rage.
Okay.
Okay, well that Grim Patron comes into hand. He's going to have 8 mana next turn. And that 7 mana ends up working out okay, although he does lose the 1/1s on the Muster for battle if he chooses to do that.
Yeah, that's a bit of a tough one.
Well,
He kind
I
of has
think
to do
it's-
that to kill the Warsong, though.
Yeah, and more importantly, I think on turn 8, there is the Grim Patron combination as well, even if you deal with this Warsong, so stuff to keep in mind as this turns ends up developing. There's a couple ways to do it. So do you want to give up your 1/1s and kill off the Warsong, or do you want to just play the Muster for battle and hope that one of them sticks? It's very optimistic to do that, though.
Must move quickly.
I like the King's play to clear the board. Nope.
All right, so he lets the Warsong live. But we know, Crypt, that this is not going to end very well.
No, it's not. It's everyone get in here time.
This Grim Patron is going to absolutely destroy everything, and if he picks up another way to synergize off of it, like if he had the opportunity to get Fraudling Berserker, I think it would have just been lights out. But from here, it's already looking like Zalay's turned the game around, because this is what every Patron Warrior fears, or sorry, Paladin fears against Patron Warriors. The fact that their hero power naturally lends itself to a weakness against Grim Patron.
Yeah, but I feel if you're in this spot when you don't have any cards, you haven't done too much, you're pretty much losing anyway. This deck is so reliant on getting one of its draw mechanisms out. Okay. I guess that's something.
Yeah, that is something. It doesn't clear the board exactly, though.
Yeah, the
So if
attack
you-
first is better because it stops from spawning the other one, so he'll have a 1 health Grim Patron left. This is actually a very important technical play that I think most players will miss. So if you consecrate first, he gets a full health one, but if you do this play, he gets to keep only a 3/1. Because the extra one will not spawn. They all die at the same time.
Yep, that's right. And the Grim Patron with 1 health is not really that useful. It's just basically a Scarlet Crusader without its...
But look at that! We have another Warsong Commander with another Grim Patron.
Yeah, more importantly, we have a lot of ways to stabilize here from this point on. He's got the Armor Smith, so that way he can crash into stuff and even gain life. And I would say that
It's probably better.
it's probably even
Just
okay to
not
do
the Grim
either one.
Patron. Well, if you don't play the Grim Patron, you can do like Armor Smith and Acolyte, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I think both routes aren't bad. I think it's the same exact concept, though. It's like, he can't kill me, so I'm just going to be aggressive, and I want to race him as opposed to give him time. True Silver Champion comes into hand. That's 8 damage over 2 turns, but his opponent will be at 17. And that's just way too far out of reach. More importantly, he's dead next turn because of Warsong staying alive.
No, he has to kill Warsong and stay alive. Oh, he doesn't.
Oh,
Okay. Well, that is it
okay,
then.
well, way too much damage. Frothy Berserker comes into hand too. So we have an even series going to game number 11. That's
You're
right.
going to game 11.
Best of 11 when he's going to game 11.
Wow. I mean, I
Zalae's
kind
on
of expected this to happen, but again, I'm surprised that it happened. I don't know. It's kind of a weird feeling. That's probably a pretty dumb thing to say, but still, I really feel that. It's like, you feel these guys are really evened up, but still, like, in a best of 11 to actually make it to the 11th game is pretty stunning.
Yeah, I think so too. So overall, I think this has been pretty close and tightly contested. But we're about to have one player ultimately be the weak link today. One player will go 1-4, 1-5 potentially. Yeah, that's right. Because Artie's lost 4, Zalae's lost 4. And
Yeah,
this
both
has
these
gotten to
players
the
have
point
really
where it's pretty
struggled,
tough.
but really the biggest struggle has been the Paladin deck, because I think out of those 4 losses, the Paladin is responsible for 3 of them.
Has it?
I think
Yeah,
so.
his other one has been Hunter.
I think he lost once with Hunter, and then it won.
That's not good at all. But at the same time, Zalae hasn't really had much chances with the Druid yet either, so we don't know how much. We don't know how well this deck
The
stacks
Druid
up.
is 0-1, right?
Yeah.
Because most of his losses have been with inconsistencies from the Grim Patron Warrior.
Must protect the one.
All right, well here we go again. RDU versus Zalae in the final match for Nihilum versus Archon.
Here we go. Wild Growth to start things off for Zalae. A great
That's
start.
really good from the Druid. It's pretty good from the Paladin too, but I feel like it's a match where the Paladin's just going to draw well almost every time, and the Druid not so all the time.
Yep.
So if the Druid draws well, I think he's going to be ahead, generally.
That's right. Firebat was telling me about how aggro decks, the sweet spot for him, for those aggro decks, for his opinion, is that 6 is a really good number, because if you have 6 1-drops, then you have a 70+% chance to draw it in the opening hands, and it even gets better if you have the coin. So he feels like, that's a really good number. Now the Paladin deck has 8, generally speaking. You have 2 Abusive Sergeants, 2 Leper Gnomes, 2 Argent Squires, and also the Pirates, the South Sea deckhands that also appear in. And if you have that many 1-drops, you're absolutely right, Crib. There's such a high percentage chance that you curve out well, especially on turn 1. And Druid, even though you do have the opportunity to play things like Wild Growth, you get the luxury of being able to play Wild Growth and surviving if your opponent does too much damage to you. But thankfully, Zalae has the best hand I think you can ask for, because Swipe will deal with whatever small minions come out, especially from the muster for battle, and you're able to successfully take out things and pick them apart with things like Wrath and Keeper of the Grove.
What do you think about this coin? Rather than just getting a greed swipe after a Wild Growth.
Well, it does open up a possibility of drawing to a turn 3 play, but I think he's just going to open up anyways to a hero power. It is very interesting, because then he's floating 1 mana either now or next turn. And in this case, it's now.
Yeah. Yeah, it works out fine. He likes the Wrath option, I guess. Oh, he just wants to minimize damage. I guess he doesn't want the swipe next turn. He's probably going to have to, though, with that.
Well, he's got Keeper of the Grove as an option as well, so if his opponent plays Knife Juggler, he can just dunk it. But there's so many Divine Shields!
The light protects me.
Can you imagine Blood Knight off the top here, just magically? If he decided to just call it?
12.
Oh my gosh. That is the worst swipe ever against an aggressive Paladin.
No, you can just Keeper, I guess. Keeper's fine against that. Your opponent would have to have Kings or True Silver. I guess if you Keeper and if he has Kings, you're going to lose and be really sad.
That's a good point too. Blessing of Kings is a legitimate threat here.
I mean, this is like typical Arena, by the way. You're in this position. It's like, I win unless he has the cards that they always have because they're ridiculously powerful. They're picked every time.
Yeah, he's playing around Blessing of Kings so much that he's willing to cash in a swipe just to remove Divine Shields. I mean, let's be real. That was kind of like the same effect as Mass Dispel, but you got to hit damage before this phase. It just now all these minions are still attacking you,
Yeah.
and you're still taking damage.
Well, Master Spell not really the best card. I think I like the Belcher over the other swipe here.
Belcher does complicate damage a little bit, where he has to trade more into it rather than easy clear.
Wow, that card's awesome.
Yeah, Divine's Favor against a heavy deck is so good because Druid plays one threat at a time.
It's just so good if you get like an Abusive Surgeon or something here.
Right. 4 cards for 3 mana. Pretty good. Move aside Dragon Vigil or whatever it's called, Solemn Vigil.
Yeah, it's Solemn Vigil.
Much better.
Generally, yeah.
Oh, he actually loses charge on the South Sea if he attacks with the weapon here. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, but I think that's still a play to make.
Because now you just use 2-1 or 2-2 to become 2-1, and then you push for 1 little damage. And it's like we said, even though this Druid deck can usually handle aggro, unless you deal with all the small minions before you play the threat, then they just pick apart the big taunter.
Yeah. Well, you can clear with Force of Nature here, which is a card that's a lot harder to use later on. So you might actually choose to do that over the swipe, because if you swipe, you still can't play anything. Just go with that.
Right. Exactly. The Force Nature gets really clunky.
It's just so hard to play. Like, you're on like turn 8, and you have basically the same problem as you did with swipe, where you just turn 8, just 1 Force of Nature, Hero Power, and playing the swipe there.
More Divine Shield.
Even though it has the same effect, on like turn 8, you might be able to swipe and Keeper, for instance. Them
It's a nice
Divine
play
Shields.
around Betrayal as well.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but...
Okay, well, does Ancient of War stop this madness?
No, because he has the True Silver. And
Well, I
Divine
mean,
Favor. Oh my god.
Yeah, he's got...
Yeah, this is
Second
very, very hard for Zele to win.
So then what's the right play if you knew RDU's hand? Is it still the Ancient of War?
Yep.
Because it's just on curve, that's the best option to go about it. I mean, I don't know if he necessarily needs to...
Divine Favor for 3.
Divine Favor right now. He can play Mustard for battle, get some juggles, and then use the Divine Shields, because he's still a little bit short of clearing it cleanly, and he wants to get the damage in. So if he plays Mustard for battle first, gets the juggle in, and then played the Choose Over Champion, he most likely should be able to push through whatever comes out.
I was looking at Divine Favor.
Ooh, okay.
I think with those juggles...
Oh, that was perfect.
Wow.
There we
That's
go.
Unbelievable.
I guess you just put it onto your mini bot, right?
Yeah, I put it on the juggler. It makes it a bigger silence target, but if he had silence, it's dead anyway. I kind of like it on the mini bot better though. It makes it so you have 2 high priority targets rather than 1.
Yeah. Now there's like 2 targets you would want to kill versus putting on Knife Juggler is like the ultimate target.
And I also think this is a spot where you choose to play a Shredder over Hero Power and down 2-1.
Yeah, maybe even consider Keeper if you want to take 2 less damage. The Shredder versus the Keeper is the same thing. Both minions will be cleaning up a lot of the small minions. And the Keeper gives you immediate return now. He already used the buff anyways. And if he ends up using Blasting of Kings, you can use... Hey, you're screwed either way, so...
I must safeguard the land.
There's 3, 7,
That's
9
lethal.
damage. Oh, there's 10. There's 10. Right
Yeah.
here. So that does it, and looks like RDU is going to take the win for Nihilum. He struggled a little bit in the
damage.
beginning,
Well played.
Look at
but
that.
Zalay ends up going 1-5.
Oh, RDU! Yep. That hype. And Zalay. That depression. Basically just flip that screen upside down and you have the same emotion.
I suppose. Congratulations to Nihilum. They take home the inaugural victory here for the Team League Championships.
Yeah.
Looks like Nihilum definitely had a little bit of things to be worried about with that Paladin deck, but overall, a job well done. And after 11 games, Crip, 2.5 hours straight, we finally have our first victory for this Team League.
And it is Nihilum. Great job from them. But yeah, what I thought would be like the funnest deck of this lineup, the Paladin, did seem to be the least consistent, the least winning deck. But in the end, it pulls out a win. And yeah, Zalay doesn't make it happen for Archon. But again, it's really not fair to pin it on him in the end. It's not really his fault that it ended up this way. It just ended up this way.
Yeah, I think so. And I feel like Zalay played pretty well. He definitely wasn't the worst player today in terms of
everyone played very solid, actually.
Yeah. It wasn't the worst player in terms of how he navigated his decks, but in terms of how the outcome is, it's unfortunate that his results don't match up with how he actually set up and prepared for this match. So that is our halfway point, everybody. We have one series done between Nihilum and Archon, but we have one more to go. One more best of 11 between Cloud9, featuring some of your favorite players like Clentone, Strifecrow, and Ika, and Team Value Town with Trump Dog and Mr. Brian Kibler himself.
That should be interesting. I'm pretty curious to see what decks these players have brought. I am hoping for more adventurous stuff. Even though the Paladin didn't quite make it, too pleasant for RDU, I thought it was pretty cool, and I'm hoping we see some of the cool stuff still. I know Kibler is a player that always plays outside the norm when he ladders, but I don't know if he's willing to bring that game to this tournament. See, in the team format, you generally try to be pretty conservative, especially if you're playing with players who you haven't before. That's another thing to really keep in mind, where if players have played together and it's like, trust me, I got this one with this deck, and they've played together, they're like, maybe go with that. But if Kibler's like, nah, guys, I got this, Dragon Paladin all the way, I don't think he's going to feel good about that. I don't think his team is going to feel good about that. So it'll probably be more standard stuff from Value Town and maybe some interesting stuff from Cloud9.
All right, cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a few minutes, guys, and get ready for our next series. Again, it should be a really fun time. We're going to stick around, too. So when we come back, we're going to have our second series of the day, which is Team Value Town featuring Trump Dog and Kibler up against Cloud9. Stay tuned.